I whispered. "Old man," into my wife's ear while she lay in a vegetative state. "When you wake up, you'll have to deal with my mother. Will you call her mom, or tell her she's your best friend's son?" My wife, who had been in a vegetative state, somehow woke and checked herself out of the hospital overnight. When my mother kept pushing me toward blind dates, an elderly woman I met said she wanted to find a husband for her daughter, who was in a vegetative state. The woman herself was still remarkably elegant, so I figured her daughter could not be too different. Importantly, not only was the bride price completely waived, but a dowry of 23.7 million yen was also included. So I reluctantly agreed. But when I saw my wife lying motionless in the hospital room, I was stunned. Wasn't she my mother's long-lost best friend? The woman who had been my childhood dream girl? After a simple wedding ceremony in the hospital room, all the relatives left one after another. At that moment, only Fumiko and I remained in the room. Fumiko held her daughter's hand and murmured, "Mizuki, Mom found you a husband. Call him Haru, the kind of handsome guy you like. Today is your big day." Fumiko turned to me, her eyes full of tears. "Haru, the doctor says Mizuki may have only a month left. My health isn't good either, so please come by every day and stay with her." I was worried too, but somehow, the dream I'd had since childhood was finally coming true. I nodded firmly. "Auntie, don't worry. Mizuki Kisaragi is my wife now, and I will take good care of her." Hearing that, she looked relieved. "Then I'll leave her in your care. My health isn't very good either, so I'll head home for now." After watching Fumiko Kisaragi leave, I looked at Mizuki lying on the hospital bed, and my heart trembled again. She was terribly thin, with an almost fragile beauty, because it was just the two of us in the room, and Mizuki was still unconscious. So I didn't have many reservations. While chatting, I held her hand and kept wiping her hair. Her little hand was cold, but very comfortable. "Mizuki probably won't believe me, but Mom's name is Sayaka Shinohara. Do you remember? She's your classmate, and you two are still close friends before. You often came to our house and even hugged us. Later, when you moved away for work, my mother lost contact with you." As I spoke, I kept an eye on Mizuki Kisaragi lying on the hospital bed. Seeing that she still didn't react, I kept talking to her. At that time, my mother asked me what kind of wife I wanted when I grew up. I told you I had to find someone like you. At that time, the whole family burst into laughter and said, "When I grow up, you'll be old. But now, looking at it, you're not old at all, and you're still so beautiful." I talked to myself, completely unaware that Mizuki Kisaragi's eyelids suddenly twitched. "I'm still going on, honey. You have to wake up quickly. You can't die." But then again, if you wake up, how will you get along with my mother? Just as I finished speaking, Mizuki Kisaragi's finger, which I had been holding in my palm, twitched. I stood up in shock. "Damn, honey, are you trying to wake up?" Feeling both happy and flustered, I hurriedly called the attending physician to see me. After examining her, the doctor also looked stunned. The patient had been bedridden for 2 months. He had tried every possible method before, but none worked. Now, the limb finally responded again. "What did you do just now?" the doctor asked cautiously. My face turned red. "Nothing much. I just whispered some things to her. Husband and wife things." Dr. Shunpei nodded thoughtfully. "Whatever you did seems to have helped. Keep talking to her. You may be able to wake her." Can that really work? Can she actually hear me? I was overjoyed. If Mizuki woke up, the dream I'd carried since childhood might really come true. Theoretically, it was possible. Dr. Shunpei Kanzaki nodded. "Your wife's physical functions are not seriously damaged. The reason she hasn't woken up until now is because she doesn't want to live herself. As long as you can stimulate her will to live, the chances of waking up are quite high." After seeing the doctor off, I held Mizuki Kisaragi's hand again. I remembered that it was probably only when I mentioned my mother that she reacted, so I rambled on for a while, but this time it had no effect at all. Helpless, I had to change the subject. "Honey, do you know? At first, your mom..." "No. When Mom came to me, I thought the Fumiko was so pitiful, and since I really was short on money, I reluctantly agreed. Now, do you know how happy I feel inside? Not only are you as beautiful as I was when you were little, but you also take such good care of yourself." I pressed Mizuki's hand to my cheek. "All I want is to wait for you to wake up and become your real husband." Sure enough, after I said that, Mizuki Kisaragi's fingers twitched slightly. I was overjoyed, talking even more passionately. Honey, let me tell you, there are plenty of young girls outside coveting my body. If you never wake up your husband, I'll have no choice but to let other women benefit. With all this muscular build, I'll have to let someone else touch me. More I talked, the more frequently Mizuki's fingers twitched. I noticed every movement and secretly smiled. At the same time, I became more and more shameless in what I said. Honey, you're just 40 this year. Isn't your demand really strong? Don't worry, your husband is very strong now. Even if I do it many times in one night, it's no problem. As I spoke, I naughtily pinched Mizuki Kisaragi's palm 8 times until the caregiver pushed the door open and I came in. After a few reminders, he left the ward. After leaving the hospital, I unusually hailed a ride-hailing car, since the 2.36 million yen deposit had already arrived in my account. Sitting in the car, I felt a bit dazed. Today, I had just wanted to appease my mother, but I never expected to marry her best friend. I wonder what kind of reaction Mom will have if she finds out. But just then, I remembered that my mother Sayaka's call actually came in. As soon as the call was answered, he immediately started cursing at Koji Watanabe next door, saying he already has a second child, and yet you still can't find a girlfriend. I laughed in anger. Couldn't find a girlfriend? My friends were not only your best friend, but also registered for marriage. It's not that I'm afraid Mom will kill me in public. I really want to say it out loud and make her really shock me over and over. After a few seconds of silence, I suddenly remembered something. With a somewhat impatient tone, I said, Mom, don't help me arrange blind dates. You want it? If you really care, help me introduce you to a rich woman. I really don't want to work hard anymore. My mom on the other end of the line was completely confused, stunned for a moment, then started scolding again. Get some, get lost, and you can go find the rich lady. To put it plainly, I grinned. With so many classmates and close friends, don't you have any successful careers? Just introduce me to a prettier one, that's enough. Mom is furious. My classmates got married early, and this time, it's almost Grandma's turn. Mom, what if some of your female classmates take good care of themselves and are still single? Rather than letting others off easy, it's better to let your own son benefit. Dream about your daydreams, and if there are, it might still be your turn. Mom, what if it really happens? If it really happens, you have to act quickly. Mom, I absolutely won't stop you. The mom on the other end of the phone was so angry she started speaking sarcastically. As soon as I heard this, I hung up immediately, then curled my lips and clicked, save the call recording. Mom, don't blame your son for being sly. Who told you to really have a single and beautiful female classmate? Second place. Early in the morning, after a quick wash, I rushed to the hospital. Just as she entered the hospital, the Fumiko called in, Haru, thank you. The doctor said, Mizuki's finger moved yesterday was a very good start. Fumiko Kisaragi's voice was full of excitement. Auntie, what you said was actually, because I was thanking you. He was speaking the truth. After all, the Fumiko not only gave him a 2.36 million yen deposit, but also gave him a beautiful wife. Although she is now lying in bed, I believe everything will be okay. She hadn't expected the first day to go so well. Dr. Shunpei's words had given her hope, and she was more excited than she'd been in years. Auntie, I'm already in the hospital, and now I'm Mizuki Kisaragi's husband. Taking care of her is my responsibility. All right, the Fumiko said 3 times in a row. I wasn't wrong about her. From now on, I'll entrust Mizuki to you. After the Fumiko finished the call, I felt a wave of emotion. I never expected that I would also have a wife. After my reflection, I went to Mizuki Kisaragi's hospital room. I hadn't seen my wife all night. Did she miss me? Sitting next to Mizuki Kisaragi with ease, I grabbed her small hand, muttered to myself, and yelled at me. He turned to Mizuki Kisaragi, eyes eagerly waiting for her to respond, but unfortunately, she still lay there quietly, unmoved. I didn't give up and kept talking, saying, By the way, my mother called me last night. Yes, it's your best friend, Sayaka Shinohara. She's urging me to get married again, insisting I have to bring my girlfriend home by the end of the year. I didn't tell her about our marriage. Do you think I should tell her? After saying this, Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes and face on the hospital bed twitched. She responded, I laughed. This trick really does work for the elderly. Fumiko, I see you've touched it. You mean I should tell her, right? Your finger moved again. Looks like you think so too. Huh. Why are your fingers moving so fast? Seeing Mizuki Kisaragi's fingers twitching nonstop, I couldn't help but giggle. Haha, honey, why are you so anxious? I was just joking with you, and even if I told her, I'd wait until you woke up before saying anything. Hearing me say that, Mizuki Kisaragi's fingers finally quieted down. He smiled disheartenedly. This old scoundrel is really interesting. Not afraid of dying, so why is he afraid of such things? Speaking of death, I suddenly thought of something that stumped my wife. I don't know what you went through before, but it made you lose all attachments to this world. We're already married. I won't allow you to do this anymore, I continued as I stroked Mizuki Kisaragi's cheek. For the rest of our lives, we will continue to live shamelessly and shamelessly. After I said this, I saw Mizuki Kisaragi's cheeks growing redder and redder. I curled my lips into a smile, deciding to add some extra ingredients. The student said that massage helps the recovery of a vegetative patient and asked me to give you massages every day. Afterwards, I rolled up my sleeves and started massaging Mizuki Kisaragi. After half an hour, I followed the information I had researched and completed the entire process. After tasting the breath, I was ready to leave. Just then, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly moved her finger again. Seeing this scene, I was happy, and my wife was reluctant to leave. But today's interview was very important, and it was hard won by my best friend. Besides, I must work hard and earn money, so that when you wake up, I can raise you to be plump and fair. I slung my bag over my shoulder and quietly left. What took you so long? Riku was already waiting when I arrived. There was a traffic jam on the road, so I randomly explained it. Bring your resume and such, right? By the way, we're gonna interview for the company. What's the company called? Mizuhana Biotech, huh? I froze at the name. Riku Moriyama patted my shoulder. What are you standing there for? Let's go, H2 is already waiting impatiently. 2 hours later, I came out of the building with Riku Moriyama. A bit discouraging, because everyone interviewing earlier was a PhD, and only Riku Moriyama and I were master's students. Just as I was walking out of the building with Riku Moriyama, I didn't notice a woman in the corner of the lobby taking off her sunglasses and making a phone call. Auntie, guess who I saw at the company? That evening, I went to the hospital again. As soon as they entered the corridor, the nurses at the nurse station exclaimed, "Oh, here we go to see your wife again. I'm a bit worried about her." The young nurses couldn't help but burst out laughing. In such a hurry, are you afraid your wife will run away? Watching them with a gossip-loving expression, I thought he just smiled without saying a word, and quickly walked into the hospital room. Familiar with the routine, I started massaging Mizuki Kisaragi. Let me tell you something happy. I found a job. A market researcher at Mizuhana Biotech earns 189,000 yen a month. But as soon as I finished speaking, Mizuki Kisaragi, lying on the hospital bed, suddenly twitched her eyelids. Seeing this, I got even more enthusiastic and chatted until 9:30 p.m. before leaving. The next day, Riku Moriyama and I arrived early at the company, first going to HR to handle the onboarding process. What surprised us was that the HR general manager personally handled the procedures and was very kind. They even adjusted the base salary for me and Riku Moriyama to 284,000 yen, and even provided me with a separate office. Sitting at his desk, looking down at the crowd downstairs through the floor-to-ceiling window, a sense of boldness arose in his heart. Riku Moriyama, your cousin holds a very high position at the company, yet he can give us such good treatment. Riku Moriyama, you know, Riku Moriyama put it plainly, cleared his throat tactically twice, but secretly thought something was off. I just saw my cousin in the office area outside, and he's still at a regular desk. But I said again I should find a chance to treat your cousin to a meal and properly thank him. Riku Moriyama nodded and nodded, but in the end, he didn't explain further. After the first day of training, it was already 7 p.m., and Riku Moriyama took the subway straight back to school. Meanwhile, I rushed to the hospital, pushed open the ward door, and immediately said, "Honey, I'm here. Do you miss me?" After seeing the scene inside, I immediately looked embarrassed. Aunt Fumiko, Sister Ayaka Kisaragi, you are all here. Ayaka Kisaragi is Mizuki Kisaragi's cousin. Back when we held our wedding in the hospital room, the Fumiko introduced me to me. Old lady, get to know Ayaka Kisaragi. Aharu, you and Mizuki are already married. You two young couple can do whatever you want. Old lady, I'm not an old relic. Ayaka Kisaragi said the same. Besides, the better your relationship with Mizuki is, the more it might help her recovery. He nodded, but still couldn't lift his head in embarrassment. After a brief chat, they both learned that I had already started working and could only come over after work every day. It's fine. The Fumiko nodded calmly. Just come over when you have time. After saying that, she left with Ayaka Kisaragi. Back in the hospital room, I looked at Mizuki Kisaragi lying on the bed, crying loudly, "Wife." That was so awkward just now. After saying that, she began massaging Mizuki Kisaragi's body, still talking non-stop about dirty talk. Seeing Mizuki Kisaragi's cheeks grow redder and redder for me, suddenly a mischievous idea arose in my heart. Wife's secret, big secret. Can I give you a kiss? If you don't say anything, I'll take it as agreeing. After I said this request, I clearly saw Mizuki Kisaragi's body trembling slightly. But I didn't bother to do anything, bent down and kissed her cheek. After the kiss, I even wiped my mouth with some seriousness. Honey, you smell so good. The next day during lunch break, Riku Moriyama invited his cousin out to a nice Japanese izakaya downstairs to treat him to a meal. After learning about our treatment, cousin Rika Sayonji looked frustrated. After 4 years of service, she only made 12,000. How did these two brats manage to do it? They're infuriating compared to others. When Riku Moriyama and I thanked him, he just said awkwardly, "No matter what, we just have to eat together." After lunch, the three of them returned to the company to continue working, but just as they returned to their desks, a female secretary suddenly knocked and came in. "Haru, Riku Moriyama, come with me. Manager Sayonji from the marketing department is looking for you." Half an hour later, Riku Moriyama and I returned to the office, completely confused. I couldn't help but complain. Is the workplace always this abstract? The department boss came to talk to us, looking completely work-related, and even treated us to dinner alone at night. I was just as confused, and said, "Looks like I'll have to go check out the situation tonight." However, during dinner that evening, Riku Moriyama and I tried several times to test Director Sayonji, but he always blocked us, saying it was about communicating feelings and not talking about work. In the end, after drinking several bottles of liquor, Director Sayonji finally smiled and revealed that the purpose of this trip was to have a rare opportunity to go on a business trip and learn. He decided to give us the spot. After learning the reason, I cursed in my heart. Wasn't this just delaying me from going to the hospital to see my wife? But on the surface, they still expressed their gratitude together with Riku Moriyama. By the time the event ended, it was already past 10 at night. Riku Moriyama hailed a cab to get ready to return to school. I was drinking while choking on my way to the hospital. When the nurse on duty saw me arrive, she showed a look of amusement. Ignoring the nurse's teasing, I went straight to the ward. "Honey, sorry I'm late today. It seems like there's some kind of bad habit that wants me to go on a business trip, but he insists on drinking all night before telling us." As we spoke, I cupped Mizuki Kisaragi's cheek and kissed her cheek. After the kiss, I pushed her further inside, half lying on the edge of the bed. "Honey, I don't want to leave tonight. I'll sleep with you, okay?" Maybe it was the alcohol that had risen, and I felt dizzy. Instinctively, I pulled Mizuki Kisaragi into my arms, and then fell asleep in a soft, fragrant scent. I don't know how much time passed, but half awake, I felt someone push me, and a particularly gentle voice sounded in my ear. "You brat, hold down my hair for the second time." Damn, I was woken up by the nurse. "I saw you were really hungry. The patient is in such unstable condition right now." In classical Japanese, my expression looks worse than crying. Wait, I drank too much last night. But the nurse gave a look of, I get it. Even though you're husband and wife, you can't act recklessly. She's still in a vegetative state. Seeing the situation getting worse, I just gave up and started smashing the floor. After the nurse pushed the cart away, I looked awkwardly at Mizuki Kisaragi on the hospital bed. By now I was fully awake. Only after thinking carefully just now did I realize how absurd last night's events had been. Mizuki Kisaragi was now in a vegetative state. How could she possibly endure such a mess? What I had done was completely irresponsible. After finishing, I whispered in Mizuki Kisaragi's ear, "Honey, I'm going on a business trip. It might take 2 or 3 days before I come back to see you." Afterwards, I even kissed her on the cheek before reluctantly leaving. When he arrived at the company, Riku Moriyama also came to the office. "Haru, where did you run off last night? You haven't come back all night." I shot her a look. I advise you not to pry into adult matters. Riku Moriyama didn't mind, but suddenly he was shocked. Haru, tell me, why is Director Sayonji so good to us? Why did I, who was stirring coffee, stop stirring? It must be to win us over. Did you forget? Just yesterday, my cousin even gave us a heads up. He said that ever since the chairwoman hasn't appeared for months, many factions have split within the company. The situation is unclear, so we mustn't rush to take sides. I told you. I'll slap my thigh hard. Looks like we need to hold the line a bit later, at least not let others think. I'm Director Sayonji. 3 days later, inside the office of the market department of Mizuhana Biotech, Toma Sayonji sat in the swivel chair, feeling a bit frustrated, looking at his secretary with a puzzled expression and saying, earlier, to curry favor with the Fumiko, I had specially gotten close to the newlyweds, Haru and Riku Moriyama. Not only did they treat them to meals to strengthen their relationship, but they also gave them a rare business trip. But since that day, the two of them had started deliberately distancing themselves. At this moment, Secretary Arasawa, dressed in black stockings, crossed her legs and tore them apart for a few seconds, then showed a look of sudden realization and said, Director Sayonji, I understand. They must be spies planted by the Fumiko in our company. Only then can we explain why these two newcomers are distancing themselves from you. They probably have high standards and don't care about those small favors. Maybe we need to step up our efforts. Toma Sayonji nodded in sudden understanding. Sure enough, the Fumiko was starting to get involved, and now I knew what to do next. At the same time, Riku Moriyama and I, who had just finished our business trip inside the Tokyo station, walked out of the exit. Damn, I'm exhausted. Studying on a business trip isn't a good job either. I rubbed my slightly sour solar blood as I spoke. Isn't this easy work? Not only are you staying in a 5-star hotel the whole way, but you also get to meet so many important clients. Riku Moriyama pursed his lips and continued. My cousin told me about this kind of opportunity, and they'll fight tooth and nail for it. I nodded in, to put it plainly, actually knowing this was indeed a good job. But compared to that, I actually wish I could spend these 3 days with Aunt Mizuki Kisaragi, not Mizuki Kisaragi's wife. Riku Moriyama rubbed his stomach and said, Let's not talk about work for now, let's find a place to have a good meal. I waved my hand, but I still have things to do. You can eat by yourself. Right now my mind is filled with Mizuki Kisaragi. 3 days apart feels like 3 autumns. But just as I was about to arrive at the hospital, my mother Sayaka's call came in like a desperate call. You brat. Aunt Watanabe introduced you to a girl yesterday. Blind dates. I almost want to hang up. Mom, I just started work and have been busy lately, so I don't have time for blind dates. It won't hold you back. That girl's workplace is pretty close to you. When you get off work, I'll have her wait downstairs for you. I was speechless. Mom, didn't I tell you before? Except for single, pretty old aunties and young girls, don't introduce them to me. How can you take your jokes seriously? I looked at the photo. That girl's really pretty, and she's a flight attendant. Mom, I don't want to go on blind dates. I can't be bothered to waste words, so I'll just speak my mind. If not, you must go. That girl's friend will immediately pass it to your mom, and after saying it, she hung up. Right after, I received a business card shared by my mother. I opened it and sent it to Eri Fujisawa, which could be shipped nationwide. Wow, Mom, do you want to see what you're doing? After arriving at the hospital, I had just entered the corridor in front of the ward. Everyone at the nurse station turned their gaze in unison, each wearing an amateurish expression. I'm a bit surprised. What are you all looking at? Someone wouldn't let me say anything. A young nurse hurriedly shut her mouth halfway through and said, I didn't say anything. It made me a bit curious. Could it be that Mizuki Kisaragi had woken up? Thinking of this, I couldn't help but quicken my pace. After entering the room, Mizuki Kisaragi was still quietly lying on the hospital bed, breathing steadily and seemingly unchanged. But I still keenly noticed that, compared to before the trip, Mizuki Kisaragi's cheeks had become even rosier, and she was no longer the slim figure she was when we first met. She seemed to be becoming more and more feminine. Seeing everything moving in a positive direction, I couldn't help but smile. Honey, haven't you missed me for 3 days? I really miss you. As I spoke, I stepped forward and started relaxing her muscles. As soon as I got started, I sensed something was off. Mizuki Kisaragi's body felt warm and indistinguishable from a normal person. She wondered if she was really awake. After the massage, I mustered up my courage and used incredibly skillful techniques to gently and slowly trace my fingers along her fair neck and cheek. As expected, Mizuki Kisaragi's body trembled uncontrollably, her cheeks flushed red, like rosy clouds on the horizon. Seeing this, my heart was filled with joy. Mizuki Kisaragi, baby? My old bebe? You're really awake? Even if he hadn't woken up, he must have known him intentionally. Could it be that he didn't know how to face him, so he pretended to be asleep? But the more she acted like this, the more I teased her, the more her thoughts grew stronger. After the massage, I lay down next to Mizuki Kisaragi. I could clearly feel Mizuki Kisaragi's body tensing up. I pretended not to notice, pulled her into my arms, and pressed our faces to her lips, greedily breathing in the air she exhaled. She grinned and said, "Honey, the air you breathe is sweet. I once heard a love master say that two people in love can survive on the carbon dioxide each other exhales. I used to find these words cheesy and disgusting, until I finally believed you. If I didn't have to work and earn money to support you, I'd stay by your side 24 hours a day." At this point, my tone suddenly turned a bit disappointed, but now I was also worried. If one day you woke up, you absolutely couldn't leave your young husband. After saying that, I kissed her lips, and the moment our lips met, I clearly felt Mizuki Kisaragi's body tense up again, and then I heard a soft, breathy moan in my ear. I also sensed her stiffly responding. I was extremely happy. If Mizuki Kisaragi could take the initiative to accommodate her, it meant she had accepted her mentally. At least she wasn't so rejected. I was delighted. If only that were true. I had long expected Mizuki Kisaragi to wake up one day. From that moment on, I was worried about bad things every day. Worried that after she woke up, she wouldn't want to be herself. After all, she was his mother's best friend, which most people would find hard to accept. This suggests that his childhood dream might really be real. As for her reluctance to open her eyes, maybe it's just that she needs time to slowly process it. After the long kiss, I touched my lips and smiled. "Mizuki, I think that was our first real kiss. I really love this feeling. From now on, let's kiss every day, okay?" As soon as I finished speaking, Mizuki Kisaragi's body visibly trembled. I couldn't tell if she was resisting, refusing, or liking it. I smiled, got out of bed, checked my phone, checked the time, and said, "My wife is already past 9. If I don't go back soon, the dorm will close again. After a while, when I move out of school, I can be with you 24 hours a day." After a tempting kiss on Mizuki Kisaragi's cheek, I prepared to leave. Just then, my mother suddenly called, and as expected, still urged me to get married. I rubbed my temples. After hesitating, I finally said, "Mom, I'll be honest with you, I already have a girlfriend." As I spoke, I turned to glance at Mizuki Kisaragi lying on the hospital bed. Now my girlfriend, Mom, clearly didn't believe it. "Why didn't you say earlier? Were you trying to trick me again?" "I'm not lying. She's right next to me, but she has a little bit of something special." As I spoke, I glanced at Mizuki Kisaragi's still slightly flushed cheeks. I was worried you wouldn't agree, so I never dared to say yes to you. The next second, I was stunned by my mother Sayaka's words. "What are you going to do to see her?" My mother's words made me shiver. I knew how controlling she could be, especially when it comes to finding a girlfriend. If she learned that my girlfriend was actually her long-lost best friend, now her daughter-in-law, the fallout would be enormous. Thinking of this, I was worried Mizuki Kisaragi might hear. Finally, citing unstable relationships, I asked my mother not to come over for now. Mom was worried that coming over suddenly might scare the girl, so she agreed. Only then did I let out a long sigh of disappointment, but I knew it was only temporary. Maybe after some time, Mom would want to see me again. Just thinking about Mom discovering her best friend becoming a daughter-in-law made me shudder. But to fully realize my childhood dream, I still have to carry out my original plan. He sped up to get Mizuki Kisaragi to accept her. At the same time, I tried my best to build my mother Sayaka's expectations. Of course, if only the rice could be cooked and cooked evenly, that would be even better. That way, no matter how much Mom refused, if you can't do it, the next Sunday, I went with Riku Moriyama to the company and rented 2 small apartments nearby. As for why there were 2 small apartments, it was because Riku Moriyama, that bastard, was planning to live with his PhD girlfriend. After signing the contract, Riku Moriyama went to find his girlfriend. Meanwhile, I was preparing to go to the hospital. At that moment, I was in a great mood, and after renting a place off campus, this means I don't have to go back to school every day. Even if I want to stay overnight in the hospital, I can stay with Mizuki Kisaragi's wife. It was only when I happily walked into the hospital room, sitting by the bedside was an elderly lady with white hair. Just when I thought maybe I had gone the wrong way, a nurse pushed a cart and walked in. When she saw me, she looked puzzled. "Why are you here again? Your wife has already been discharged." When I was discharged, I widened my eyes in disbelief. "You don't know?" The nurse looked puzzled. For a moment, I didn't know how to answer. After thinking for a while, I gritted my teeth and argued, "No, my wife has been lying in bed for so long, even if she woke up, it wouldn't be like she just woke you up." "My wife woke up 4 days ago, the same time you stayed over at night." Well, she really woke up, and I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. "I understand, so when did my wife get discharged?" "It was this morning, and it seemed her cousin came over to handle the discharge. Her body hasn't recovered yet, so why don't you stop her from being a little angry?" On one hand, I was angry that she didn't tell me, and on the other, that she didn't take care of her health. We tried to stop her, but she was very firm and insisted on having her family push her away in a wheelchair. After saying this, the young nurse muttered again, "Those who know will be discharged. Those who don't will think they're about to run away." It would have been better if the young nurse hadn't said anything, but once I did, I immediately understood what was going on. It must be because last night she told her mom on the phone in front of her that she had a girlfriend, and she must have heard her mom come to see her. She must have taken it seriously, which is why she ran overnight without worrying about her health. Seeing me standing there in a daze, the nurse continued, "But your wife's physical condition has mostly recovered. If she rests well at home, she can fully recover." I snapped back to reality and said, "Great, then you have my wife's contact information." The nurse was stunned for a moment, then shot me a look speechless. "You're really messing with your own wife. Come ask me for your contact info." After leaving the hospital, I stood at the intersection, not knowing where to go. I had called the Fumiko several times just now, but couldn't get through, which made me feel empty inside. Originally, I planned to use the weekend to relax her muscles and cleanse her body a bit. Now, the plan had fallen through, and even the only Fumiko who could connect with Mizuki Kisaragi was temporarily unreachable. Just as I was wandering aimlessly down the street, the Fumiko's phone suddenly rang in. "Haru, thank you. I'm Fumiko Kisaragi." "Hello, Aunt Fumiko. I'm listening." At this moment, I was extremely nervous, my voice trembling slightly. "Haru, I can't bear to hide it from you anymore. Actually, Mizuki woke up 4 days ago, but she wouldn't let me tell you. Hey, Haru, is she? But I don't know what happened today. My body hasn't fully recovered yet I insist on letting my partner be discharged. We couldn't argue with her, so we brought her home. I hope you won't blame me." "She didn't blame me. Why would she blame her?" I'm so happy I can't contain my joy. "Auntie, can I meet her?" I said what I wanted to say most. The lady on the other end of the phone was silent for a few seconds, then started to give off-topic questions, thanking me for all I had done recently. I once again expressed my request, but the Fumiko changed the subject again, saying she would transfer the remaining 21.3 million yen payment to me later. Hearing the Fumiko's clearly business-like attitude, I felt a chill in my heart. I was about to end things with Mizuki Kisaragi. Thinking of this, I was firm and said, "Auntie, I don't want the remaining 21.3 million yen. The Fumiko's voice was full of surprise. This was the reason. "Auntie, I'll be honest with you. After spending so much time together, I've already fallen for Mizuki Kisaragi. I want to try to keep dating her." The elderly lady on the other end fell silent once again, and only after a few seconds did she calmly open her door. "Young man, don't always talk about liking someone. Feelings aren't that cheap. I think you're pretty short on money too." "Auntie, are you sure I really like her?" "Mizuki Kisaragi, can you tell me her name? Where is she now?" Seeing my firm attitude, the Fumiko still spoke slowly. "Haru, I'm seriously asking you, do you really want to be with Mizuki? After all, she's 20 years older than you." When I heard the Fumiko's tone soften, I went all in. Seriously, I had another reason I couldn't say. "If we really get together in the future, you'll understand." The Fumiko was taken aback, then said, "I will pass your request to her. Please wait a moment." After saying this, the Fumiko hung up the phone and turned to look at Mizuki Kisaragi, who was staring at the phone beside her. "Mizuki, you heard all that, right? I think this guy is pretty good. Why don't you try dating her for a bit?" "No." Mizuki Kisaragi shook her head like waves. "How old is the Playboy mom?" At my age, I could be her mother. If we really got together, what would people think of me? But even though Mizuki Kisaragi said that, the memory of kissing me that day involuntarily surfaced in her mind. Before she knew it, her face was as red as a ripe apple. Seeing this, the Fumiko suddenly realized that what I said last was off. There must be something wrong with these two. But she didn't rush to bring it up, but calmly said, "Being together is between you two, so why do you care what others say?" Mizuki Kisaragi snapped back to reality. "Mom, don't try to persuade me, she's really too young." But only Mizuki Kisaragi herself knew this was just an excuse. The most important thing was, I was her close friend Sayaka Shinohara's son. Alright then, I'll go reject her and get a lawyer to sign the divorce papers. As she spoke, Fumiko Kisaragi took out her phone to make a call, but the call connected the moment it connected. But Mizuki Kisaragi had already hung up after snatching the phone. "Mom, don't be so anxious, let me think, okay?" She didn't know why, but the moment the Fumiko picked up the phone, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly felt a pang in her heart. Fumiko Kisaragi wasn't in a hurry and just smiled silently at her daughter. Mizuki Kisaragi blushed with embarrassment under the gaze, but still refused to admit it. "I just felt that this kind of divorce was a bit cruel to her. How about this? Tell her that the two of us won't see each other for 3 hours." Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly paused at this point. "In less than 10 days, both of us should think it over carefully." Fumiko Kisaragi watched her daughter cover her ears and make a way out for herself, just smiled and nodded. Then I called my number. I hurriedly asked about the situation, as nervous as if waiting for verdict. But Fumiko spoke calmly and confidently, saying she still couldn't accept the age gap and hoped we would give each other 10 days before making any reckless decisions. 10 days? My heart was still in suspense. After thinking for a while, I spoke seriously. "Auntie, don't worry. Although I'm young, I'm about to graduate from graduate school. I'm not a rookie." "Alright, if you can say that, I'm relieved." After saying this, Fumiko Kisaragi prepared to hang up the phone, but I started giving advice on many things that would help Mizuki Kisaragi recover. Seeing that I had been talking for 2.5 minutes and still wouldn't stop, the Fumiko interrupted, half amused and half crying. After I ended the call, Fumiko Kisaragi smiled and said, "Daughter, did you hear that? I think your young husband really has you in his heart." Although Mizuki Kisaragi still refused to admit it, the slight upward curve at the corner of her mouth was already betrayed. Her mom knows now. You really are so naggy. Watching her daughter Fumiko Kisaragi bicker with him, Fumiko Kisaragi felt like she was back a few years ago before her daughter developed depression. Meanwhile, I returned to the dorm. I should have packed up and moved into an apartment, but now I have no energy at all. This wasn't 10 days. It felt more like a 10-day prison sentence. I kept staring out like that until 5 in the afternoon, when I received a message from my cousin Hana Shinohara. "Cousin, I'm at your school. Come out here and treat me to a meal." Hana Shinohara is 18 this year and is a freshman at the neighboring university. Because the two schools are next door, she used to often come to my school to attend classes. I waited until I dawdled and hurried over. She saw Hana Shinohara glaring at her cousin with a resentful face, saying, "How can you have the nerve to make Hana Shinohara wait here for you so long?" I looked around, left and right, finally lowered my head and asked Hana Shinohara, "Where are the laughing flowers?" Hana Shinohara puffed up her toes and pointed at me. "It was me. I looked down on you." "Looking down on you? Self-proclaiming yourself? Who's funny, spending 1.5 meters? Who's 1.5 meters tall?" "I'm 1.53 meters tall," Hana Shinohara glared angrily. I didn't keep dragging her to a barbecue restaurant near the school. When plates of grilled meat are served, Hana Shinohara swallowed nervously and said in shock, "My brother, Cousin Haru, you didn't get married to a rich woman after all these years. Is this the first time you've grown this big? All right, enough rambling. What exactly do you want to do here this time?" Hana Shinohara knows her financial situation best. She usually wouldn't ask me to treat her to a meal, so this time she came was probably because her mom arranged another appointment for her. While tending to the barbecue, Hana Shinohara said, "I miss you. Can't I come see you?" I didn't waste any words and took up my phone to send her a 12,000 yen red envelope. After receiving the red envelope, Hana Shinohara's attitude changed completely. Auntie said, "You have a girlfriend. Give me 4 yen, 700, and ask me to come and test the truth." Seeing Hana Shinohara take money and sell out so readily, I couldn't help but tap her on the head. Don't knock me. The little girl was so angry she pushed me away. I'm not tall to begin with. I shot her a speechless look, saying, "What exactly you found out?" "Bro, you must have been kicked by your newly dated girlfriend." "How do you know?" I said a bit strangely, although I wasn't kicked by Mizuki Kisaragi. I really couldn't see her for now. I don't need to ask around to know. Look at how dejected you look. Even a muumuu isn't as sad as you. Brother, hurry and tell me, sister-in-law, money is money. What does sister-in-law look like? What her professional dance is? And whether she dances beautifully. Hana Shinohara asked a bunch of questions in one go. "Don't ask." I glared at her and didn't plan to say more. Hana Shinohara pouted, threatening not to ask. But as for Auntie, I was fine. Before she could finish, I interrupted the bank calculations and said "you" ruthlessly. I took out my phone and sent her another 12,000 yen red envelope. Hana Shinohara's happy eyes squeezed into slits. "Brother, how am I supposed to report to Auntie?" "Just say my girlfriend is very beautiful and mature, but she looks a few years older than me, and she's just started dating and the relationship isn't very stable yet." The reason I say this is also to indirectly give my mother a warning. After dinner, I walked alone back to the dormitory. I suddenly felt annoyed as I passed by the school's dating spot, the Grove, so I shouted at the top of my lungs, "Hurry up! The discipline department teacher is coming!" With that shout, squads of hidden justice demons fleeing wildly burst out from the darkness. Seeing all these scenes made me feel much more at ease. The next morning, my mother called, but this time her voice was much softer. I grinned, thinking the money I gave Hana Shinohara wasn't wasted. Otherwise, my mother Sayaka's mood definitely wouldn't have been so steady, but I still asked knowingly, "Mom, Hana Shinohara, is that girl telling you about my girlfriend?" Well, my mother started to hesitate. She told me about it yesterday. He was talking nonsense. She said her brother found a girlfriend who was beautiful and looked much more mature than you. Hearing this, I couldn't help but feel my arm twitch. Then she pretended to be annoyed and said, "Hana Shinohara really is such a girl. She always says everything." Ah. Anyway. "Mom, my girlfriend is a bit older than me. You wouldn't mind, would you?" "Hi, Mom. How could that be? Besides, getting older means caring for people better." Hearing this, I made an excuse to end the call. Then, once again, she skillfully saved the recorded audio recording. "Old lady, oh Fumiko, I really made a lot of preparations for you. I hope you won't let my efforts go to waste." After muttering to myself, I left for work. Wait until I arrived at the company, and as soon as I entered the office, Riku Moriyama leaned back in his office chair, propping his legs up on the desk, flipping through documents while humming a tune. I frowned. "It's work. Can you please stop being so arrogant?" Riku Moriyama twitched the corner of his mouth. What was there to be afraid of? After all, our private office was open and someone would knock on the door. That actually made sense. So I imitated him and put my legs up on the table. Not to mention, this position actually felt pretty good. After I got back, I started looking at the company files out of boredom. But as I was watching, I suddenly shouted. Riku Moriyama was so scared he fell straight off his chair, grimacing in pain. I clutched the documents in my hand, as if I'd seen a ghost. Our group's chairwoman was named Sayaka Shinohara, the same name as my mother. I was stunned, which was also my mother's name. I was stunned. My heart was filled with mixed emotions, so I decided to call Fumiko to find out. But the call was completely unreachable. Before the 10-day period ended, I couldn't reach him, and just as I couldn't help but sigh, but outside, a commotion came from within. After asking around, I learned it was the president coming to inspect the work. I didn't hesitate and rushed over there. I saw a group of people surrounding a woman wearing a white suit and skirt. Looking closely, I realized this person wasn't my own wife, Mizuki Kisaragi, which made me breathe a huge sigh of relief. Great, there was no longer a gap in status between himself and his wife. However, after I turned and left, the woman said to the surrounding employees, "I'm only exercising authority on behalf of the chairwoman while she's away. For now, just call me acting director and report everything to me." When I arrived at the office, my mind was filled with thoughts of Mizuki Kisaragi, especially Mizuki Kisaragi, who, even though she was awake, still blushing and pretending to sleep, letting her kiss her. Oh my god, I still have to wait 10 days before the verdict arrives. It's truly the greatest cruelty in the world. The more I thought about it, the worse it felt. So I decided to slam the table one by one. deciding to take the afternoon off to clear my mind. The leave request process went very smoothly. Just like when I first joined, the HR manager and review committee member were still very polite. Not only did they approve the leave without even asking the reason, but they were also very concerned and asked if they could help me. I smiled bitterly to myself, missing my wife. "Can you help me with this?" After leaving the company, I flagged down a taxi driver to Seiryu Temple. At the same time, Mizuki Kisaragi was staring blankly at the book in her hand. Unaware that cousin Ayaka Kisaragi had already come to her, Ayaka Kisaragi reached out and took the book. "Mizuki, this book probably isn't good." Mizuki Kisaragi was startled. "Cousin, I haven't finished reading the book yet." Ayaka Kisaragi looked strict. "You've been reading all morning and haven't even changed your counting at night. I think you're not looking at a book, but someone's face." Mizuki Kisaragi immediately blushed. "Cousin, what nonsense are you talking about? I haven't seen Haru." I hadn't even said who that person was, so I already matched it. Ayaka Kisaragi leaned in close to her, smiling warmly, and said, "How about I take you to the place you most want to go?" Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes lit up, and she shyly lowered her head and asked, "Where are you going?" "Temple." Ayaka Kisaragi tapped her forehead. "Didn't you always like going to temples? Isn't it quiet there? Say you want to go to someone." Mizuki Kisaragi blushed and interrupted Ayaka Kisaragi. "All right, cousin, if you keep talking, I really won't talk to you." Although Mizuki Kisaragi was nearly 40, because she had maintained her good care and was innocent, her acting cute made her look just like a girl in her 20s. Ayaka Kisaragi burst out laughing. All right, I'm not teasing you. Earlier, you went with your aunt to the Seiryu Temple to burn incense. Now that you're awake, it's truly time to go and fulfill your vow. Seiryu Temple is located on Mount Takao east of the city. Because of the spiritual wishes and spiritual recitations, incense offerings here have always been thriving. Ayaka Kisaragi took Mizuki Kisaragi to the foot of the mountain, pushing a wheelchair toward the temple to take a look. Surrounded by the surroundings, Mizuki Kisaragi closed her eyes and took a deep breath, showing a satisfied smile. "Sis, I was so naive before. I never realized how wonderful being alive is." Ayaka Kisaragi couldn't help but sigh. "Back when Auntie said she wanted to find you a partner to bring good luck, I thought she was being mischievous. Now it seems that move was actually the right move." But after that, thinking about this, Ayaka Kisaragi shook her head, shook off the worries in her mind, and no matter what happened in the future, as long as her cousin was happy, it was all worth it. The sisters walked and chatted as they went, and before they knew it, they could see the gate of Seiryu Temple. Just then, Ayaka Kisaragi suddenly saw a familiar figure. "Hey, isn't that your young husband?" "What is it?" It was her. Mizuki Kisaragi was startled. Soon she panicked again and said, "Cousin, hurry up and go. I can't let him see me." But as she spoke, Mizuki Kisaragi couldn't help but poke her head out and search the crowd. She had never seen what I looked like since we got married. Although she had seen the photos on the marriage certificate, it was always different from seeing her in person. Mizuki Kisaragi's feelings toward that fallen young husband are actually extremely complicated. On one hand, feelings have quietly grown in her heart. On the other hand, the difference in status and age between them made her hesitate, and still hesitate to take that step. While she was searching for me, Ayaka Kisaragi was pushing her wheelchair, preparing to leave. Mizuki Kisaragi was anxious. "Cousin, what are you doing? You want me to leave?" Ayaka Kisaragi shot her cousin a sharp look. Mizuki Kisaragi bit her lower lip and finally spoke after a long pause. "I wanted to quietly take a look at him first." Ayaka Kisaragi smiled knowingly and pushed Mizuki Kisaragi toward the back door of the temple. Here I was standing in front of the cannon statue, anxious and insecure lately. I was glad Mizuki Kisaragi woke up so quickly, but also worried she might not want to continue this marriage. With no way to resolve it, I could only pin my hopes on the gods and cannons. At that moment, outside the door, Mizuki Kisaragi panicked and pulled Ayaka Kisaragi's arm. "Cousin, come closer. I want to hear what she has to say." Ayaka Kisaragi looked helpless as she quietly pushed her wheelchair and hid outside the hall. At that moment, my voice came through. "Canon, please bless my wife Mizuki Kisaragi. Don't divorce me. Bless our marriage to be happy until old age." Ayaka bent down and looked at Mizuki, grinning mischievously. Mizuki Kisaragi's face flushed bright red with embarrassment. and she couldn't help but raise her hand to cover her face, but secretly peered carefully through her fingers. After seeing that devout figure, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly remembered what I had said while caring for her in the hospital room. 8-pack abs, push-ups, over 100 in one go, and many times a night. Mizuki Kisaragi felt her face burning. Mizuki Kisaragi tugged at Ayaka Kisaragi's clothes, signaling her to take her away. At that moment, my voice rang out again. If my wife insists on divorcing me, then I pray to Canon to bless her with all the best in the future. Having read this far, I wish all the viewers and their families good luck and smooth life ahead of you. Inside the solemn and dignified Great Hero Fortress, my voice sounded especially devout. Ayaka was momentarily stunned and looked down at Mizuki, who was already crying. Seeing me get up, Ayaka Kisaragi quickly pushed Mizuki Kisaragi into a side hall. "Why are you crying, silly girl?" Mizuki Kisaragi acted as if she hadn't heard her words. She only spoke up after I walked away. "Cousin, let's go back." Ayaka Kisaragi was a bit surprised that she couldn't offer incense. Tears still shimmered in Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes, but she smiled at the corner of her mouth. What I asked for had already been fulfilled. When they got home, the Fumiko Kisaragi had already seen Mizuki Kisaragi and the other come back from the courtyard, quickly winning the previous round. "Grandly, were you having fun going out today?" Mizuki Kisaragi, however, was completely occupied with my words and didn't even catch what her mom was saying. Fumiko Kisaragi was anxious. "Ayaka, what happened to Mizuki?" Ayaka recounted everything that had happened that afternoon. Even I had been shocked. Ayaka nodded. "Yes, there's no need to wait 10 days. Tomorrow is the weekend, so I'll arrange a meeting and send you the details." Mizuki Kisaragi was the first to speak seriously. "I want to see her. I want to see her right now." Having made up her mind, Fumiko Kisaragi had actually already guessed her daughter's intentions, but still wanted to be one more certain. Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes sparkled with determination. I've made up my mind." Fumiko Kisaragi patted her head, then dialed my number. When she called, I was on the bed making pancakes. Seeing the caller ID on the screen, I jumped up and hurriedly pressed the answer button. "Auntie, is this Mizuki looking for me?" Fumiko Kisaragi turned on her phone and glanced at Mizuki Kisaragi, who was earing her head perked up. Mizuki pouted and pulled her to shake her with her foot. Fumiko Kisaragi smiled dotingly and didn't beat around the bush, directly saying that Mizuki said she wanted to try to get close to you. Really? Even through my phone, I could feel my excitement and anticipation. Ayaka nodded. "Yes, there's no need to wait 10 days. Tomorrow is the weekend. I'll arrange a meeting and send you the time and place later." "Great!" I jumped 3 feet high, so excited I could barely contain myself, then asked the Fumiko about Mizuki Kisaragi's various preferences. Fumiko Kisaragi listened to my endless chatter, glanced at Mizuki Kisaragi, then smiled and said, "You should learn about these things slowly in the future." After saying that, she hung up on me. Staring at the black screen, he was stunned for a moment, then burst out laughing. On the other side, Mizuki Kisaragi was feeling restless. "Mom, maybe we should postpone it for a few days." She kept looking in the mirror, her anxiety hard to hide. I looked terrible, and now I had to use a wheelchair. Would she dislike me? Ayaka Kisaragi curled her lips and said, "If she really disliked it, she would have taken that 21.3 million yen and left you when her period was about to give her money." Ayaka agreed. "Your cousin is right. Besides, my daughter is beautiful. Who could possibly dislike her?" Mizuki Kisaragi was amused, a blush spreading across her face, and while her already delicate features grew even more stunning, she fantasized about it. From now on, they would be together as husband and wife, and a hint of anticipation welled up in Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes. At 1 p.m. the next day, I checked the time on my phone and saw there were still 2.5 hours until the agreed time, which finally made me feel a bit relieved. Meanwhile, Mizuki Kisaragi was also extremely nervous. "Why does my cousin want to rent? Don't I have a place myself? Sis, does this dress suit me? Isn't it a bit too plain? Mom, I always feel like this lipstick is too flashy, not suitable for me." Mizuki Kisaragi sat at the dressing table, chattering on her face full of anticipation and embarrassment that even she hadn't noticed. Fumiko and Ayaka exchanged a glance and smiled. "Mizuki, you're already doing well. There's no need to be nervous." I chose this place especially for you, so you'll be fine. Ayaka Kisaragi held Mizuki Kisaragi's hand and spoke about renting. The house under your name is either a villa or a large flat in the city center, which isn't suitable. Kichijoji is in a well-located location, neither too far nor too close to the company, which is the perfect choice. Mizuki Kisaragi frowned slightly. You're worried. That's right, Ayaka Kisaragi nodded. Although Haru does look good, you should be cautious and not let her know your identity for now. Although Mizuki Kisaragi was innocent, she wasn't naive. She immediately hardened herself. She understood the truth that time reveals a person's heart. Seeing that it was about time, Ayaka Kisaragi took Mizuki Kisaragi out the door. At this moment, I can check my watch more than 10 times a minute. Just thinking about meeting my dear wife makes me so excited I can't contain myself. Seeing the strange behavior, I looked at a couple beside me and was very curious. Bro, you're so nervous about a blind date. He shook his head. It wasn't a blind date. He was waiting for my wife. My wife is being so formal. Could it be that she did something wrong? Begging for forgiveness? What's the point? Maybe I was talking to my wife. At this point, I paused, then smiled and continued. It's marriage first, love later. The young couple laughed so hard they leaned over, and now they even love after marriage. So trendy. This interruption actually made me less nervous. But before she could see the agreed time, Mizuki Kisaragi didn't arrive. But instead, the Fumiko called, "Hello, Auntie, are you there?" Fumiko glanced at Mizuki and smiled helplessly. "Come to this address. I'll be waiting for you at home. From now on, this will be your home." After hanging up, Ayaka Kisaragi glanced at her watch. "Aunt, then we should leave. Let the two of them talk alone." After Ayaka Kisaragi finished speaking, she pulled the Fumiko and walked outside. But just as they reached the corridor, Ayaka Kisaragi took Fumiko Kisaragi and turned into the next room. Then Ayaka Kisaragi showed a hint of pride. "Auntie, don't worry, I've arranged everything. The soundproofing in this house isn't particularly good. If we pay more attention, we should be able to hear what they're saying." Next door, Mizuki Kisaragi was nervously staring at the door, a star almost leaping out of her throat. After that, she would live here with her young husband, living like a married couple and doing the things they should do together. Mizuki Kisaragi reached out to cover her face. What was this inexplicable sense of anticipation? It was truly embarrassing. By now, I had already entered the elevator. The elevator was constantly preparing myself mentally. Knowing I was fully prepared, I nodded solemnly and said, "Honey, I'm here." Bro, are you out of your mind? Seeing your wife and acting so formal, the people in the elevator sized me up and down with a slight chin. Seeing my wife can't be formalized, I'll accuse you, my wife is a celestial being. Sayonji pressed tightly, and the elevator doors opened. Coincidentally, that person also lived on this floor. He followed me out of the elevator and laughed, saying, Come, let me see what your fairy wife looks like." I glared at him. "My wife? Do you even deserve to see this?" However, as soon as I finished speaking, that person's eyes widened and his gaze stared blankly behind me. Yet she kept shouting at that person, "I'm warning you. Even if you see her in the future, you must not have any thoughts about her. She is mine, me." As soon as I finished speaking, a crisp laugh came from behind me, and I was taken aback. Turning her head, she saw Mizuki Kisaragi smiling at her. She was already beautiful, and after raising her for a while, she was incredibly beautiful. Just now, Mizuki Kisaragi had already heard my voice at home. She had planned to wait for me to come in, but upon hearing that familiar voice, she couldn't hold back any longer and immediately took her wheelchair and left. Honey, I was both shocked and delighted. With a sword stride, I rushed forward. "Why are you out? Hurry inside, and there's a bad guy among the crowd." As I spoke, I couldn't help but glare at the neighbor behind me. Mizuki Kisaragi giggled. "Fool, you already said I'm your wife, so even if someone targets me, I'm still your wife." As he spoke, he greeted the neighbors. "Hello, this is my husband. Please take care of me in the future." Mizuki Kisaragi is innocent, but not a naive girl. Since she decided to live here, managing neighborly relations naturally became very important. The neighbor was a bit stammered by this greeting. Hello, my name is Naoki Hoshina. If anything comes up, we can look out for each other." In classical Japanese, I said directly, "No need, I'll take good care of my wife." Then I pushed Mizuki Kisaragi back inside and slammed the door shut. Mizuki Kisaragi just giggled at me again. Feeling a bit embarrassed by her smile, I simply handed her the flowers. "Honey, you look so beautiful when you smile." Fortunately, Mizuki Kisaragi shyly got up and helped her up. He directly covered his face. How could a fool go around boasting about his wife's beauty while warning others about his manipulation? But she became confident, thinking, "I'm right, honey, you're so beautiful, so of course I have to be cautious." Listening to my words, Mizuki Kisaragi felt a strong sense of possessiveness in her heart. Is this what love feels like? Meanwhile, in the next room, Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi exchanged a glance, their eyes reddening at the same time, but their faces wore a relieved smile. At that moment, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly started coughing. "Honey, what's wrong?" I grabbed Mizuki Kisaragi's wrist. Fumiko Kisaragi heard the noise and panicked, immediately trying to run to the next room. But Ayaka Kisaragi grabbed her aunt and said, "Don't go to her husband's place. We should take this chance to see Haru's attitude again." Fumiko calmed down and listened carefully to the commotion next door. Mizuki Kisaragi coughed until her face was flushed red, her chest heaving violently, tears welling up and down. In my panic, I pulled her into my arms. "Honey, take a deep breath first. Take it slow. I'll stay with you." Listening to my strong heartbeat, Mizuki Kisaragi instinctively felt an unprecedented sense of security. Her emotions gradually calmed down, and she finally stopped coughing. Carefully wiping away the tears from her face, he lifted her up around the waist and carried her into the room. Then he poured a glass of water and said, "Wife, get up and have some water." This time, Mizuki Kisaragi lay in bed, no longer having the strength to sit up. I thought he wanted to help her up, but worried she might feel unwell, so he simply picked up his cup and took a sip of water. Then he bent down and kissed her firmly, carefully sipping the inlet fluid. The soft sensation combined with the sweet, warm water that followed. Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes widened instantly. Although she was still a bit secretive, she could sense that the kiss was steady, not just a hint of desire, but it still stirred a huge wave inside her. After more than half a glass of her water, Mizuki Kisaragi's complexion gradually returned to normal, and a faint blush appeared. Holding Mizuki Kisaragi's hand, she said regretfully, "It's all my fault for making you laugh, even though I know you're not well. Maybe you should go to the hospital and get checked," I said, trying to pick Mizuki Kisaragi up. After using Mizuki Kisaragi, I held my hand and said, "I'll just lie down for a while. Can you keep me company and chat for a bit?" Naturally, it was impossible to refuse, so he nodded immediately. Soon, the voices from the rooms and rooms came again. Laughter and laughter filled the room. Fumiko Kisaragi and the others next door both looked relieved. He didn't know someone next door was eavesdropping, but held Mizuki Kisaragi's hand and chatted with her about her experiences over the years. The smile on Mi's face never faded, but it was just her. She still hadn't fully recovered. Unconsciously, she fell asleep, seeing Mizuki Kisaragi with her eyes closed and breathing steadily. I couldn't help but mutter, "Honey, you're so beautiful. You wonder what I accumulated in my past life. The goddess from childhood has grown up and can still be married to him. It's like a dream. Honey, if you're willing to try to get close to me, can I assume you actually like me too?" After chatting for a long time, seeing Mizuki Kisaragi sleeping soundly, she couldn't help but have another thought. Back in the hospital, I drank and ran into someone cowardly, hugging her and sleeping all night. Now that she's been discharged, isn't that me, hehehe? While blaming herself for her dirty thoughts, she threw off the covers and slipped inside. It was Mizuki Kisaragi who was frail and more afraid of catching a cold than most people. When she felt a warm steam, she instinctively nestled into my arms. Holding her petite body and smelling that fresh fragrance, his heart melted. Now that his wife and children were warm, he was just missing a child. Soon, I looked down at Mizuki Kisaragi in my arms and said, "My wife is pregnant, afraid of trouble, so I'll have to wait a bit longer." Thinking this, I unknowingly fell asleep too. However, what I didn't know was that after I fell asleep, Mizuki Kisaragi opened her eyes. What a fool. Mizuki Kisaragi had a smile at the corner of her mouth. "Auntie, I had a checkup when I was discharged." Mizuki Kisaragi thought to herself, suddenly feeling a bit hot on her face again. So she couldn't help but bury her face in my arms. This time, Mizuki Kisaragi quickly fell into a dream. In the evening, as soon as I opened my eyes, I met her soft, pink lips. As if possessed, he kissed her. Mizuki Kisaragi was so shocked her eyes widened, a blush creeping up her cheeks. Then she closed her eyes again and reached out to steady my neck. You guys! Men who know their hands are never idle when kissing. Mizuki Kisaragi was both shocked and embarrassed, wanting to push my whole head away, but in a daze. She could only let everything happen as it happened. Then, there was a knock at the door, and I suddenly opened my eyes, but I noticed that Mizuki Kisaragi's originally rosy face had started to pale again, and her gaze was a bit unfocused. Terrified out of his wits, he quickly stopped what he was doing. Honey, don't scare me. Mizuki Kisaragi struggled to speak, saying, I have the medicine in my bag. He crawled out of bed, took medicine out of Mizuki Kisaragi's bag, and fed it to her. After a long while, Mizuki Kisaragi finally recovered, lying weakly on the bed. I felt both heartbroken and guilty, and couldn't help but slap myself, blaming myself for knowing your health was poor, yet still acting like a beast. It's fine, don't be like this. Mizuki Kisaragi struggled to show off a little. It's because my health is too poor, it's not your fault. It was all my fault, just as I held her hand, what more could I say? But outside the door there was a knock, and my phone rang as well. The call was from Fumiko Kisaragi. Haru, what were you all doing just now? The nanny has been here for quite a while, hurry and open the door. The nanny blurted out with some confusion. Yes. Pang Pang isn't in good health, and you have to go to work again, so I hired a nanny to cook your meals and housework. I understood, opened the door immediately, hung up the phone, and hurriedly rushed out. Mizuki Kisaragi lay on the bed, watching my back, unconsciously recalling that kiss just now. Her body was a bit more proactive, whether it was wine. She blushed, not daring to think further, but a sweet smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Auntie's name was Rika Sayonji, very professional. As soon as she entered, she got busy with me. He leaned in to study beside her, planning to show off in front of his wife in the future. This time, Mizuki Kisaragi regained her composure and prepared to go outside to check on her young husband because he had been lying down for too long, his body was weak, and the muscles in his legs had atrophied somewhat. As soon as I stepped out of the bedroom, I tripped over a stool and collapsed to the floor with a thud. Hearing the noise, she came out of the kitchen and saw Mizuki Kisaragi's wife lying on the floor. What's wrong with me? Startled, I rushed over and hugged her. Her eyes were red with concern. You need to get up. Why didn't you tell me? Why did I get up by myself? Mizuki Kisaragi fell down and felt embarrassed, and hearing my words made her even worse. Tears immediately welled up. I don't want to trouble you with everything. Seeing this, I suddenly realized it was my own words that had dragged her into internal conflict again. She smiled and wiped away her tears. Wife, I'm your husband. If you're willing to rely on me, how could I find you troublesome? As she spoke, she took Mizuki Kisaragi's hand again. Did she just fall on her butt? Let your husband see if she could blow on you. This deliberately mischievous tone made Mizuki Kisaragi burst out laughing, and the guilt and self-blame she had just felt instantly turned into a blaming one. She wiped my nose with her jade-like hand. Wishful thinking, and there were outsiders present. As soon as she finished speaking, Rika's voice came from the kitchen. You can pretend I'm not here, he muttered again, saying that if he didn't get past the demand, you guys would repay me for lowering his blood sugar. Mizuki Kisaragi was so embarrassed she couldn't even lift her head, and her ears turned bright red. The nanny, Rika, worked very efficiently. In less than an hour, 4 dishes and 1 soup were served to me. She went back first, taking off her apron as she said, After you finish eating, just put the bowls and chopsticks in the kitchen. I'll come by tomorrow to wash them. Mizuki Kisaragi couldn't help but say, Rika, why don't you stay and eat together? No need, Rika laughed loudly, just 1 more second, and my blood sugar wouldn't be able to hold down. Mizuki Kisaragi blushed again, couldn't help but glare at me, blaming you and me, grinning, admitting guilt while serving food to Mizuki Kisaragi. The meal was incredibly sweet and their relationship grew closer. At least Mizuki Kisaragi wouldn't blush at the drop of a hat. After the meal, I put away the dishes and chopsticks in the kitchen. Mizuki Kisaragi stared at me with displeasure. Feeling a bit emotional, She thought she'd never set foot in marriage in her lifetime. Not only is he married, but he's also his former best friend. Is this just an old ox taking advantage of tender grass? At this point, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly felt a bit at a loss. In the future, when she saw her best friend, who knows what kind of battlefield it would be. It was then that I realized I suddenly spoke up, "Honey, why don't we go out and visit the park?" A trace of longing flashed in Mizuki Kisaragi's eyes in the park. But more than anything, she was shy. Like an old married couple, after dinner, they held hands and strolled in the park. Thinking about it, even though she kissed me and hugged me now, it was all a natural fit driven by circumstances. Now that she was prepared for a date, she still felt she wasn't mentally prepared. Thinking this, Mizuki Kisaragi instinctively shook her head and said, "I'm a bit tired. Let's go again next time." I didn't pay much attention to the lyrics, of course it was fine. Let's go back to our room and rest first. As I spoke, I carried Mizuki Kisaragi back to the bed and said, then he immediately ran out. Mizuki Kisaragi was confused, but soon saw me returning with a basin of hot water. "Soak your feet first, let me give you a massage. This will help you recover faster." Mizuki Kisaragi's face flushed red, and she instinctively shook her head again, saying, "No need though." But when I was at the hospital, Haru had already massaged me, but I was unconscious then. Even after waking up, I never opened my eyes or spent time with her directly. But now, in this situation, wouldn't that be humiliating? Of course, I had no idea this scoundrel had so much thought. He just placed the basin of water in front of the bed without giving him a chance to give him a massage, which would help your body recover. You have to listen to me. Before Mizuki Kisaragi could say anything, I had already squatted down and took off her shoes. Mizuki Kisaragi was slim and beautifully maintained, and her jade-like feet were exceptionally fair and tender. Feeling her feet held in my hands, Mizuki Kisaragi was so embarrassed she didn't dare lift her head, just covered her face and said, "Really, no need for a massage, just soak in it." But she looked completely calm. We're husband and wife, isn't it only natural to wash each other's feet? As I spoke, I put Mizuki Kisaragi's foot into the basin, feeling the warmth of the water combined with my serious expression. The shyness on Mizuki Kisaragi's face eased a little. After soaking, I sat by the bed, placed Mizuki Kisaragi's legs on my own knees, and started massaging her, from calves to thighs with moderate pressure and careful strokes. Mizuki Kisaragi also went from being shy and reluctant at first to gradually enjoying my massage. Looking at my always serious face, Mizuki Kisaragi's lips curled into a smile. It was so nice to meet her. Under the tingling pressure, Mizuki Kisaragi unknowingly fell asleep. It wasn't until I was sure she was asleep that I carefully placed her legs properly, covered her with a blanket, and then got up to go into the next room. It's not that I don't want to sleep with Mizuki Kisaragi, but the baby's body is too weak now. If I act impulsively again, the consequences would be unimaginable. At the same time, inside the Kisaragi family villa, Fumiko Kisaragi was restless, staring intently at the laptop screen in front of her. It wasn't until he saw me enter another room that he finally breathed a sigh of relief. He hadn't expected this guy to be so self-disciplined at night. Ayaka Kisaragi was curious. She had heard from a nurse that Haru once climbed onto a hospital bed and slept there overnight. She never expected that now that Mizuki and I were living together, he would be the one behaving so obediently. He installed the surveillance footage in the hall, since Mizuki Kisaragi's health really worried them. The next day, while I was half asleep, I suddenly heard a faint call. "Haru, where have you been?" It was Mizuki Kisaragi's voice. My face changed dramatically, and I hurriedly got up. He knocked on the door step by step, pushing open Mizuki Kisaragi's door with one go. The first thing she saw was Mizuki Kisaragi sitting on the bed. Mizuki Kisaragi looked flustered, her pale face still streaked with tears. Feeling heartbroken, she strode forward and picked Mizuki Kisaragi up. Mizuki Kisaragi nestled in my arms, burying her face in my chest, rubbing against me a few times, then took a deep breath in satisfaction. "What's wrong?" I looked down at her. Did she dream about something? Mizuki Kisaragi didn't say anything, just tightened her grip on my hand a little more. She felt embarrassed to say she felt uneasy because she woke up and realized I wasn't by her side. Seeing Mizuki Kisaragi remain silent, I didn't press further, just quietly held her and soothed Mizuki Kisaragi with a gentle voice. Unconsciously, she fell asleep again, and when Mizuki Kisaragi woke up again, what I saw was, "Rika Sayonji, you woke up, still wearing an apron and smiling, saying, 'I'm here to call you for breakfast.'" Mizuki Kisaragi nodded, slowly sat up, and peeked out of the room. Seeing this, Rika Sayonji quickly said, "Your husband went to work. Before leaving, she specifically told me to wait until you woke up before leaving." As she spoke, Rika Sayonji showed an expression that was overly sweet. Toto. Seeing this, Mizuki Kisaragi immediately blushed, but inside she felt sweet and delighted. After I arrived at the company, Cindy quietly made up her mind to make good money. After all, whether it's Mizuki Kisaragi taking care of her health or having children in the future, there are plenty of places to spend money. Just after the morning meeting, Riku Moriyama and I were about to head back to the office, but the head of the ministry called him back, and the committee member called him back. How has Haru and Riku been feeling at work these past 2 days? Has he ever felt uncomfortable? Feel free to bring it up. Don't hesitate. Seeing my boss smiled so warmly, Riku Moriyama and I exchanged a glance, both silently sighing in our hearts. Feeling angry, this inexplicable care came again. Does this really force us to pick sides? Riku Moriyama wore a professional fake smile, shaking his head desperately to show that everything was fine. Again, I forced a smile. "Thank you, Sayonji. Thank you, Director Sayonji, for always caring. I think everything is fine, so let's go." The committee member made no comment, and talked about trivial matters for a long time before finally letting us go back to the office. As soon as I got back, Riku Moriyama slapped his thigh and said, "No, the more I think about it, the more I feel something's off. Why do I feel like he's interested in the two of us?" I shouted at him, "Get lost, can you come up with something better?" I sighed again. "All right. Enough nonsense, I have to get to work." No matter what the committee member's purpose was, the most important thing now was to do his job well. After all, he still had to earn money to support his wife. Thinking of Mizuki Kisaragi, the corners of my mouth immediately lifted. Even the work in front of me felt much more pleasing to me. After a busy day, we finally got off work. Riku Moriyama eagerly came over. "It's been a long time since the two of us got together, so let's go out for a drink tonight." Before I could finish speaking, I grabbed my jacket and rushed out. I didn't even have time to say goodbye. Why is that damn dog running so fast? Your family has a celestial waiting for you, come back. When I got home, the first thing I saw was steaming hot food, and Mizuki Kisaragi, who was lying on the table playing on her phone, heard the sound and quickly looked up, her face full of surprise. "I'm back, Monday just left. The food is ready, go wash your hands and eat, bye." When Rika Sayonji arrived, she asked her to help with the bath. This time, Mizuki Kisaragi was wearing a pink nightgown, looking especially petite and well-behaved. Looking at the childhood dream goddess now like this, I couldn't help but grin and say, "Honey, you're really beautiful." Mizuki Kisaragi blushed and shot me a look in annoyance, even smiling at me. Little did I know, the more she acted like this, the more my heart fluttered, and I almost turned into a fierce wolf pouncing on her. Fortunately, reason prevailed. I took a deep breath, hurriedly rushed to the kitchen to wash my hands. Mizuki Kisaragi watched my back, pursed her lips, and smiled. After the meal, I saw it was still early, so I suggested we go for a walk in the park. Once, Mizuki Kisaragi hesitated for a moment before quickly agreeing, but then she looked at her own pajamas, which were a bit swollen again, but I was wearing them. "She looks beautiful in pajamas, too." And my words slip out of her tongue. Then she realized something and said, "The nightgown is too cool. It's easy to catch a cold when you go out. Maybe I should change into another one." Mizuki Kisaragi thought for a moment, tilted her head, and said, "Then can you pair it for me?" He immediately nodded in agreement. As soon as I opened the cabinet door, I frowned. "Honey, you have so few clothes." As soon as she finished speaking, she felt a bit regretful. She guessed it was because Mizuki Kisaragi had been hospitalized for so long that she had spent all her money and couldn't afford a new one. Thinking of this, I was once again determined to seriously make money. But when Mizuki Kisaragi heard this, she couldn't help but sigh inwardly, "This is bad." When my cousin bought this house, it was because the schedule was too tight. She only picked some ordinary clothes and daily necessities from home, and now only half of her wardrobe was hanging. After picking out a skirt, I asked anxiously, "Honey, let me help you change." As I spoke, a barely noticeable confusion appeared at the corner of my mouth. After all, your body is so weak. What if you faint while changing clothes? Mizuki Kisaragi couldn't help but laugh and cry. I'm not a vegetative person, nor do I think you think I look that weak or weak. Half and half weak, half doubtful. When I was little, Mizuki Kisaragi and I sat on benches in the nearby Riverside Park near the community, looking at a couple passing by. Both their hair already gray, the Fumiko was even more unsteady, her steps even more unsteady, and she was being hugged. But instead of complaining, the old man slowed down and walked forward in sync with her steps. She didn't know what she was thinking, but suddenly a bit of longing arose in Mizuki Kisaragi's heart, and the corners of her mouth unconsciously lifted. She and Haru would be like them in the future. Honey, do you want candied hawthorn? At that moment, my voice pulled Mizuki Kisaragi back to reality. Mizuki Kisaragi looked up and saw the vendor carrying candied hawthorn not far away. She had never eaten such street snacks before. As a child, her family was poor, and as an adult, she had no time and found it childish. At that moment, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly wanted to know what candied hawthorn would taste like, so she happily said, I want to eat a small portion. Guy, buy candied hawthorn for your girlfriend. The uncle glanced at me, and Mizuki Kisaragi smiled brightly and said, I'll pick a big one for you. Given the front chin, Yang wasn't a girlfriend, but his wife had already gotten her certificate. The uncle was stunned for a moment, then thought, oh my, this little girl isn't that old, and she got married so early. What a perfect match. Mizuki Kisaragi's face turned red with embarrassment. Uncle, I'm quite old. How is it grown up? My wife, you interrupted Mizuki Kisaragi Feng. Wife, you look just like a girl in her early 20s right now. That wasn't entirely exaggerated. After all, Mizuki Kisaragi was naturally slim, and naturally had a small face paired with fair skin, making her look very tender at first glance. After I sat down, Mizuki Kisaragi felt a bit embarrassed and whispered, How come you always tell everyone we've registered our marriage? It's like you're showing off. I grinned, but didn't answer Mizuki Kisaragi in return. Instead, he asked a young couple passing by, Is this my wife? Is she very pretty? The look of the goddess made both the young couple ask fiercely, forcing them to come back and only nod in unison after the god arrived. It really is beautiful. By now, Mizuki Kisaragi was so embarrassed she couldn't lift her head, and she unleashed a barrage of fist punches at me. Walk home, or you'll even catch passing dogs to show off. Helpless. I had to end the date in a hurry, but as soon as I walked in, I was alert again. Honey, you go back to your room first. I'll fetch water and give you a foot massage. And a massage. She had to press it. Mizuki Kisaragi's cheeks flushed, feeling just too shy. I looked serious, saying, Why aren't you pressing your legs? You have to massage more to regain your strength. Speaking of which, I casually opened the candied hawthorn and handed it over. Just wait for me to serve you, and you'll get tired. Mizuki Kisaragi giggled and tentatively took a bite of the candied hawthorn. In an instant, the sweet and sour taste overwhelmed her entire mouth. Mizuki Kisaragi squinted, feeling that she had never been so happy and waiting as she was today. When the massage was finished, and I got up to leave, but Mizuki Kisaragi's hand held onto my clothes, refusing to let go. What's wrong? Seeing this, I immediately got nervous. Honey, are you feeling unwell somewhere? Wasn't it? Mizuki Kisaragi's cheeks flushed slightly as she hesitated to speak. You're still sleeping next door tonight. As Mizuki Kisaragi spoke, she recalled the panic and unease she felt this morning when she couldn't wake up and found herself alone in bed. She didn't want to go through it a second time, but when she asked her to ask me to stay and sleep, she really couldn't put it into words. But I instantly understood. Honey, if you want me to sleep here, then I won't go over and tell you. I quickly added another sentence, but don't worry, I won't do anything reckless until your health is completely recovered. But what if I wait until I'm better? I was taken aback for a moment, then smiled and said, Hee, then let's do something that couples love to do. After saying that, I went to take a shower and left following the footsteps. Only then did Mizuki Kisaragi open her eyes. Her upturned face was flushed, but the corners of her mouth kept rising. It wasn't until 2 minutes later, when Mizuki Kisaragi heard my footsteps, she immediately closed her eyes and pretended to sleep. He felt the bed sink a little. Then a warm body leaned in. Honey, I'll hold you while you sleep. Mizuki Kisaragi didn't say anything, but she cooperated and looked up, letting my arm slip over and nestle into my embrace. Not long after, Mizuki Kisaragi was heard to fall asleep with steady breathing. But I secretly complained bitterly. Who in my family understands that with a gentle woman in my arms, and she's a legally registered wife, I can't do anything myself? I gritted my teeth and endured it all night. Early the next morning, when I opened the door for Monday was startled by my dark circles, then frowned. Your body hasn't fully recovered, so why don't you know to exercise some restraint? Mizuki Kisaragi happened to get up and blushed when she heard this. His face flushed red as he ran away with a urine shield. Anyway, this matter couldn't be explained clearly. After breakfast, Mizuki Kisaragi walked me to the door to go to work. I'll wait for you at home. Seeing her move, I couldn't hold back any longer, leaned down and kissed her on the cheek. Mizuki Kisaragi stared blankly for a moment, watching my refined back, and couldn't help but laugh. As a newcomer, I also have to familiarize myself with company rules while working, so when I get serious, it's quite busy. We kept busy until lunchtime, and only then did I walk with Riku Moriyama toward the company cafeteria. As a relatively well-known domestic company, Mizuhana Biotech offers excellent employee benefits. Just the cafeteria's 5 yen menu, 3 dishes and 1 soup, is already far ahead of the rest. However, just as Riku Moriyama and I were getting food in the staff area, manager Toma Sayonji walked over. Director Sayonji and all the employees greeted him one after another. Toma Sayonji nodded slightly in response, then stopped and walked over to me. Haru, Riku Moriyama, you guys come with me for a moment. Toma Sayonji was stunned by this point. I had been busy all morning, so hungry, my chest was pressed against my back, but I really couldn't refuse, so I had to pedal over. The other employees behind him immediately started gloating. These 2 groups had just joined the company and were already assigned private offices. I thought they had some backing, but now it seems nothing more than that. Yeah, you have to be called to arrange work at mealtime. Hilarious. Listening to the discussions behind me, I couldn't help but sigh. Just as I was about to accept it for the sake of my salary, but Toma Sayonji took us to the management canteen. Riku Moriyama muttered, "Could it be that he wants us to watch him eat and then arrange work for us?" I was also a bit surprised. This was just a bit of a shameless fee, but it was really enough. Not easy to come by. While we were whispering to each other, Toma Sayonji smiled and said, "Sit down, order whatever you want to eat. I'll have the auntie bring it over." Riku Moriyama was stunned at this moment. Eating here in the management area was better than the staff in the work area. Better over there, but it was more than just double, a little bit more. I echoed the idea, but still hesitated a bit and said, "Director Sayonji, this isn't going to be in line with the rules. We should go eat in the staff area." "It's nothing. I have something to talk to you all about today, so I'll just eat here today," Toma Sayonji said as he handed over the menu. "Please order. No need to be so formal with me." Riku Moriyama were already starving, so they couldn't care about anything else now. Without another word, they started ordering. Not to mention, the food in this management area is just good lobster, abalone, and basically free to serve me up. At first, Riku Moriyama was a bit awkward, but Toma Sayonji kept urging him to eat. "Aren't you hungry? Don't be polite. If you don't eat, I can't finish this whole table either." When she saw me and Riku Moriyama enjoying the meal, Toma Sayonji's anxious heart finally eased a little. Inside, she secretly felt relieved that these 2 were brought in by the Fumiko, so she had to get the relationship right. At that moment, I suddenly remembered what Sayonji-zong was. "Didn't you say you had something to discuss with us?" Toma Sayonji snapped back to reality and quickly shook his head. "No, I didn't call you here today. I wanted to transfer you to a new position." I was stunned. Riku Moriyama reflexively asked him if he wanted to transfer positions. "So what about me?" Toma Sayonji looked at Riku Moriyama and explained, "You're still in the original office, just giving Haru a little extra work." He breathed a sigh of relief and quickly asked, "What is the work? Just let me know. Most of my work now is just small things. If I don't assign more work, I really feel uneasy." Toma Sayonji tried to smile more kindly. The company wasn't enough drivers, so he decided to provide you with a car. If I have something to do going out, I'll have to trouble you to drive me around. In classical Japanese, I was completely pushed hard. Toma Sayonji, a company veteran, actually used the word trouble for a small lackey. Ridiculous, just too absurd. Riku Moriyama was stunned too. Mr. Sayonji, you want Haru to work part-time as a driver? Toma Sayonji quickly shook his head. It wasn't a part-time job, just providing a car for him. He just needed to pick me up and drop me off alone, and I didn't go out often so my workload wasn't heavy. Toma Sayonji only realized at this point, by the way, Haru, you have a driver's license, right? Yes, that's settled. Toma Sayonji is the final decision. If you're full, I'll take you to see the car. I followed Toma Sayonji out the door, dazed. Before leaving, Toma Sayonji told Riku Moriyama to eat slowly, and if it's not enough, ask him to put it in my account. Just like that, Toma Sayonji led me straight to the company parking lot. Then he looked at the Toyota Crown Sport in front of him. He completely let go of his worries. If you don't like it, then what kind of car do you like? However, the chairwoman had personally instructed him to prepare a car, and hadn't specified which model to choose. He had been planning all night, worried that something too expensive or too cheap might upset her. The Toyota Crown Sport was a safe middle ground. If I don't like it, can you swap it for me again? I tentatively asked. Toma Sayonji slapped the big head, of course, and we keep switching until you're satisfied. But then he realized something was off and quickly corrected himself. After all, from now on, you're the one driving the car, and you're comfortable driving, so I can sit with peace of mind. I gasped. Wow, these benefits are so good that I'm starting to get scared. But then he thought, as an intern, he didn't have much status or background, and whatever the company wanted him, he would take it. Thinking this, I immediately breathed a sigh of relief. I don't think this car is actually pretty good. As long as you enjoy it. Toma Sayonji breathed a sigh of relief and directly stuffed the key into my hand. Normally, you can just take it with you and use it whenever you want to go to work. By the way, the company will reimburse your fuel expenses. I widened my eyes, unable to believe such a good deal existed. Toma Sayonji quickly explained that it wasn't convenient. I could reach you anytime and also not delay major company matters. But he joked with his mouth, saying, I wish I could keep you alive. How could I dare look for you at any time? Looking at the car keys in my hand, I was excited, finally overcoming my fear. All right, Mr. Sayonji, rest assured, I will come back whenever I call you. At the office, Riku Moriyama was lying on the sofa playing games. When he saw me come in, he didn't even look up. What kind of car was this? And I was the third auntie on the road. Heihei smiled and said the Toyota Crown Sport top-spec version. Riku Moriyama didn't believe me, so I couldn't be bothered to argue with him. I put away my keys and went off to take a nap. After finishing a day's work in the evening, I sent Mizuki Kisaragi a message saying there was a surprise tonight, and told her to stay home and wait for my news. Then he pulled Riku Moriyama to the parking lot. When he saw me open the car door, he couldn't help but feel envious, grinning. Judging by your potential, I'll walk you home, and I'll pack up and take them away. By the time I finished, it was almost 7 o'clock. I had just taken out my key, and the door opened. You're back, Mizuki Kisaragi said with a bright smile as she looked at me. I was startled. Honey, why did you stand up? Be careful. Mizuki Kisaragi looked at my nervous face, feeling sweet inside. Her words carried a hint of coquettishness, saying I wasn't made of glass. Just a few steps were fine. No, even if there was only a 1 in a million chance of falling, I couldn't take any risks. Without giving her a chance to speak, I picked Mizuki Kisaragi up and kicked the door shut. At this moment, the dining table was set with 4 dishes and 1 soup. Perhaps it had cooled somewhat over time. I frowned slightly. Honey, didn't I tell you to eat first and not wait for me? But I don't want to eat alone, Mizuki Kisaragi said, her voice lowering a bit. Without you, I'm not used to it. Yan, I was very happy inside. It seemed this old baby was becoming more and more satisfied with me. Hey, now as long as I wait for my body to recover, my childhood dream will come true completely. After dinner, I held Mizuki Kisaragi's hand and slowly walked to the parking lot. Mizuki Kisaragi instantly understood what a so-called surprise was, but she still pretended to be puzzled. You said you wanted to prepare a surprise for me. I got proud, pointing at the brand new Toyota Crown Sport. Clang, knock. This is the surprise I prepared for you. Do you like it? Toyota Crown Sport Mizuki Kisaragi frowned slightly. She called the company and asked them to arrange a car for her. Although she didn't specify a model. In her view, the Toyota Crown Sport still falls a bit short, since her previous tires were all Porsche grade. I looked at her reaction and was a bit puzzled. "What's wrong, honey? You don't like it?" Mizuki Kisaragi snapped back to reality and quickly showed a surprised expression. "Where did you get the money to buy a car?" I bought it from the company, so I led her toward the car and explained, "Honey, let me tell you, this is actually quite strange. I'm just a small underling in the marketing department. The company not only arranged a separate office, but also assigned a separate car, saying I could use it however I wanted." Mizuki Kisaragi couldn't help but laugh inside. She guessed that the Fumiko had learned I was there for an interview and then notified HR, while the senior management was the most tactful. When faced with the people the Fumiko brought in, they were definitely eager to curry favor. Mizuki Kisaragi thought to herself, but on the surface, she looked surprised. "Really? Maybe the company valued your talent and didn't expect you to be so impressive." Her single compliment made me almost like a peacock spreading its tail, and the more she spoke, the more pleased she got. "Wife, don't worry, the company values me so much. I'll earn money to support her. After all, I didn't even know why Mizuki Kisaragi became a vegetative patient in the first place. I didn't dare ask further, and all I could do was do my best to create a carefree world for her. Mizuki Kisaragi felt a sting in her nose and quickly changed the subject. "By the way, the surprise you mentioned is this car?" I shook my head, smiled mysteriously, then opened the passenger door. The brake was immediately triggered, and a wave of floral fragrance wafted over. Next, I took out bouquets of huge roses from inside and gave them to you, wife. Mizuki Kisaragi looked straight at the rose in front of her. Flower. This was the first time she had taken such a proactive approach. "Silly. Big fool." Mizuki Kisaragi hugged me and said with a choked voice, "I'm just a useless person who's been sick for so long. I'm almost 20 years older than you. So why are you so good to me?" Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh and reached out to wrap my arms around Mizuki Kisaragi's slender waist. "You fool, you're my wife. If I don't treat you well, who else would I treat well? Besides, in my heart, you are the most perfect woman in the world. To marry you is my greatest blessing." As she spoke, she gently wiped away Mizuki Kisaragi's tears. All right, don't cry. People who didn't know better would think I was bullying you. Besides, I have a gift." Mizuki Kisaragi was stunned. There was a gift for me. He smiled, then took a ring out of his pocket. My wife felt a bit embarrassed. I scratched the back of my head. Actually, I should have bought a diamond ring, but since I'm just starting work and don't have much money, I can only put on a hard job for now. I kept rambling on while Mizuki Kisaragi had already slipped the ring onto her finger. "Does it look good?" Mizuki Kisaragi opened her hand to her face, her eyes shining brightly. The ring was actually a bit rough, but with the dim streetlight and the smile on her face, it turned into a stunning painting that made me nod in awe. So beautiful, so beautiful. Mizuki Kisaragi smiled even sweeter. "I also think it's great. You have great taste. I mean, you look good." Mizuki Kisaragi's face flushed again, her face shy, lethargic, annoyed, and her body swayed as she spoke, almost falling. After standing for so long, her emotions were fluctuating greatly, and her body was starting to feel overwhelmed. I quickly supported her wife. "What's wrong with me?" "It's fine, just a bit tired." "Let's go home." I nodded, picked her up, and started walking back. Along the way, I held Mizuki Kisaragi in my arms, and Mizuki Kisaragi held a large bouquet of roses, drawing the attention of passers-by. Mizuki Kisaragi blushed again, feeling exhausted. "Why don't you just let me down? Of course I'm not tired. And you forgot your husband, I have 8-pack abs." I didn't say it, but fortunately, as soon as I did, Mizuki Kisaragi immediately remembered what I had said in the hospital room, like several times in one night, which made her face blush even more, and she quietly buried her face in my chest. Then the corners of his mouth lifted slightly. Not sure if he had 8-pack abs for now, but those chest muscles were pretty well trained. When I got home, Mizuki Kisaragi was already asleep. I carefully laid her down on the bed and waited. After finishing the basic foot massage routine, she hugged Mizuki Kisaragi and fell asleep. Early the next morning, I was about to leave for work. Mizuki Kisaragi slowly stood up from her wheelchair, walked up to me step by step, and planted a kiss on my face with her tiptoe. I felt completely at ease. This was the first time Mizuki Kisaragi had waited so proactively. I tried to respond in return, but Mizuki Kisaragi pushed me out the door and closed me outside. Mizuki Kisaragi's shy voice came through. "You should go to work now." "I'm getting anxious." "It's not you. You should open the door first." No. Mizuki Kisaragi shook her head. That kiss just now had drained all her courage. Now she really didn't dare face her young husband, but I started wailing. "I'm not your wife. I'm still wearing slippers." Mizuki Kisaragi's mood today was a bit disappointing, so after arriving at the company, she took the initiative to help Riku Moriyama prepare coffee in the break room. The morning break room is the liveliest. Employees usually like to come there first to chat and slack off after checking in. By the time, there were already several colleagues in the break room, and at first glance, they were all girls chattering away, making for a lively scene. Seeing someone enter, everyone turned to look at them in unison. When they saw it was me, then my eyes lit up. There were plenty of young people in the company, but someone like me, young, handsome, and well-built, was rare. So someone immediately came over. "Hello, I'm Mio Takasugi from the finance department. We're all colleagues. Let's add each other as a friend so we can keep in touch if anything comes up in the future." As soon as he spoke, the others also grabbed their phones and rushed over to me. He was so fierce. Was he really this enthusiastic? But as a newcomer, I couldn't refuse, so I obediently took out my phone and started attacking one by one. Mio Takasugi said with a big smile, "By the way, do you have a girlfriend?" The others perked up their ears as well, but I was serious. I got married. For a moment, everyone was shocked. Then their expressions of doubt turned on as well. "No way, you're so young and already getting married? Didn't you just graduate from school? Don't tell us you're lying to us." I felt a bit helpless and then said I was really married. But not only did everyone not believe it, they insisted I post the wedding photos. Especially Mio Takasugi, who would believe you didn't even wear a wedding ring? "I do." He couldn't say it out loud. When she married Mizuki Kisaragi, she was still in a vegetative state. Even the marriage certificate was handled by the Fumiko holding the photo. She could grit her teeth and explain that my wife's health was poor, so the marriage was just a certificate. Mio Takasugi, put it plainly, looked at my marriage certificate photo with interest, right? I realized the marriage certificate and took out my phone to check the photos, only to realize I hadn't taken any pictures at all. Seeing this, everyone started talking at once, refusing to take it out. I think they were just tricking us. "Are you worried we'll pester you? We have so many pretty girls here, and you don't even look for them." I didn't have much experience dealing with girls to begin with, so I instantly blushed deeply. Fortunately, the committee member passed by the break room and helped me out. I gathered here and made a fuss, asking what the fuss was for. "Didn't you have to work?" Someone stuck out their tongue. "Director Sayonji, you know our company is always overcrowded and scarce. It's rare to make a precedent, so we have to hurry and make a move." Toma Sayonji, put it plainly, seemed to have thought of something. Then he lowered his pride and said he wouldn't make a scene. "Dating is all about mutual consent. If you block people here, whatever you say, go back to work." I breathed a sigh of relief and quickly grabbed 2 cups of coffee, ready to head back. Unexpectedly, the committee member patted me on the shoulder and said, "Hey Haru, I have a niece who is so beautiful that I get into my way." Just rewarding himself in the company break room, cornered by a group of young female colleagues pursuing him. Even the department head wanted to introduce his daughter to me, but I gave them all good guy cards because I didn't just marry early. His wife was even the lady from his childhood dreams, except she had just woken up from a vegetative state. His body was still very weak. That's why I rewarded myself in the break room. However, my colleague Mio Takasugi didn't believe my explanation. Instead, she even had her finance minister aunt send me out for fieldwork, making it possible for her to be alone with me. Opportunity. As soon as I got in the car, Mio Takasugi launched a fierce advance. "I really like you. Look at me, my curvy front and back is pretty good. How about we give it a try?" I was scared by her straightforward response. "Don't do that. I'm really married. How about I bring you the marriage certificate tomorrow?" Mio Takasugi curled her lips. "That thing can be won for just a few yen. Do you really not like me?" I was completely speechless and didn't want to waste words with her. I said directly, "It's work hours now. The company wants you to go and collect the debts. Tell me the location quickly." Seeing my refusal to accept the challenge, Mio Takasugi had no choice but to sigh and give the address. After saying that, she still acted cute and said, "My seatbelt seems broken and can't be pulled. Can you help me?" You can see through her tricks at a glance, so you can sit in the back. Mio Takasugi finally snapped up for a long time before angrily buckling up her seatbelt and gritting her teeth at me, saying, "No matter how hard you try, come in." But he didn't care at all, stepped on the gas, and set off straight away. Work went smoothly, and by the time I got my debts back, it was just after 5 o'clock. He was about to take Mio Takasugi back to the company, and then hurry home himself. But Mio Takasugi stopped her again. After all, she said she didn't need to clock in at the company for field work today, so why go back? Mio Takasugi said as she winked at me. "I knew there was a Western restaurant nearby, so we should go eat together. It tastes really good. If you don't go, how can you be like this? I'm already so proactive. If you take the initiative, I have to cooperate with you." I've completely lost my patience. Mio Takasugi finally couldn't hold back anymore, and in a fit of rage, she got out of the car and left by herself. I happily hummed a tune and drove home. Normally, I get home by at least 7 o'clock, but today I entered before 6. I squeezed my hands and feet to open the door, only to find the living room door already closed. But then I heard voices faintly coming from the study. I know about that previous project. Let me check it out again. Let's put it back for now. Everything at the company has been normal lately, right? I can't go back for now. Hearing the intermittent voices, I wondered whether my wife was working on a project. No, logically, an ordinary employee who's been sick for so long should have already been fired by the company, let alone his wife was given an ultimatum by the doctor. But it seemed like not only was the job still intact, but there was still a project waiting for her to finalize. Just as I was wondering, but Mizuki Kisaragi had already come out of the study. "You're back. She's back." The voice pulled me back to reality. "Wife, what were you just doing? TV, huh?" Mizuki Kisaragi shook the tablet in her hand. This workplace drama is so exciting. Glancing at the female CEO on the phone on the screen, he suddenly realized, could it be that he just heard lines from a TV drama? Yes. "Why are you off work so early today?" I came back to my senses. "I was out in the field today, so I got off work early." Mizuki Kisaragi's movements really froze. Who arranged the field assignment? The market department does need to work in the field, but my husband, a newcomer, shouldn't be his turn, right? I didn't notice Mizuki Kisaragi's odd reaction, just complained to the finance department director and told me to take people out to collect the bill. In classical Japanese, Mizuki Kisaragi's heart sank a little. You didn't want to bring her along. As she spoke, Mizuki Kisaragi thought to herself that she should inform the provincial committee later, since this car was originally intended to be made for me as a private car under the company's name. I shook my head and went to the break room to meet Mio Takasugi, and when she was on field duty, I told her all the details she had been chatting about. When Mizuki Kisaragi heard me say that a female colleague asked for her WeChat in the break room, her expression turned a bit ugly. She had always felt almost 20 years older than me and felt very inferior. She knew all the young girls at the company dressed up beautifully. And beautifully. Hearing me admit I was married without hesitation, she laughed again. At that moment, she suddenly felt an overwhelming sweetness in her heart. "Your husband has been harassed by someone else and you can still laugh?" I looked so aggrieved that you had no idea. Today, in the break room, I felt like a rookie trapped in a den of spiders. I was terrified. Mizuki Kisaragi just giggled, but you still resisted the temptations from outside, didn't you? Hearing the worry in her words, he said firmly, "Wife, with you around, it's not temptation. What do you call a fly? A harassment. You have to see your precious wife more often to heal the wounds of your heart. If you dislike me, you'll cheer me up." Mizuki Kisaragi shot me a glance, but inside she felt even sweeter. Seeing this, I stepped forward and wrapped my arm around her waist. "Old lady in my heart, you are the most perfect. No other woman can compare to you with a finger." Mizuki Kisaragi's face instantly flushed red, and she shoved me away with embarrassment and walked into the room. He sighed. "This old scoundrel is good in every way, but he gets shy too easily. It seems he definitely needs to say more sweet words and make more intimate gestures in the future, so his wife can get used to it quickly. Otherwise, if this keeps up, when will he finally finish it?" The nanny came to make dinner on Monday and saw me at home, a bit curious about why I arrived so early today. Because I miss my wife, I work hard during the day and come home early to be with her. I said this calmly. Mizuki Kisaragi, however, blushed and started talking nonsense. And on Monday, she even wrote that this newlywed couple is just a different kind of sweet story. I corrected her seriously. It has nothing to do with newlyweds in general. It is simply because my wife is too beautiful and I love her too much. My teasing words kept coming. Mizuki Kisaragi covered her flushed face and said nothing. I was a bit reluctant to say it, but still said seriously, "All right, I'll listen to you, my dear wife." He even said Mizuki Kisaragi was so anxious she was about to stomp her foot. Rika Sayonji smiled warmly at the two of them, bantering and sighing. Youth really is wonderful. After Rika Sayonji finished cooking and left, Mizuki Kisaragi frowned. Besides coming to our place for work, Rika Sayonji also seemed to take on a cleaning job. Her husband didn't even cook and was waiting for her to come back. Wife, rest assured I definitely won't do this. I spoke first. Right now, my job is low and the pay is high. Even if you don't work, I can support you. And if you want, I'll keep Rika Sayonji sitting here all the time. Mizuki Kisaragi felt sweet inside, but on the other hand, she pretended to be troubled. But Monday's salary was my mother making me wait for it. After my probation period and my job stabilized, I told my mother that from now on I'll pay the Monday salary. I'm definitely the one paying the rent too, so I said it was only natural. Mizuki Kisaragi smiled and hooked her finger at me. Come over here. What's wrong? I'm leaning in. Suddenly, Mizuki Kisaragi reached out to slow my neck, pulled me closer, and then kissed me on the cheek. I was stunned. I didn't expect such a good thing to happen. Soon, she responded again, hugging Mizuki Kisaragi and taking the initiative. What had been a light kiss on the cheek landed on her lips, tongue, and bananas, producing ambiguous wet sounds. Mizuki Kisaragi was both shy and flirtatious, yet also found it very sweet. Sitting in her wheelchair, she closed her eyes and tilted her head back to let me take whatever she wanted. After the kiss, both were out of breath, especially Mizuki Kisaragi, whose body hadn't fully recovered yet. This time, her emotions fluctuated so much that her face, which had been flushed with embarrassment, had lost its color. Fumiko, are you okay? I panicked, my whole body blames me. I know your health isn't good, yet you still can't control yourself. Before I could finish, Mizuki Kisaragi put her hand to my mouth. I just need to rest for a bit, so I said it to her. After a pause, my pale face flushed again. Actually, I had liked it just now. At night, Mizuki Kisaragi nestled in my arms, talking leisurely about what happened at the company during the day. You met the finance department director personally asked you to take people out. I nodded. Yes, honey, you don't know. The head of our company's finance department has people secretly calling him Extinction Momentum. Mizuki Kisaragi stiffened all over, then couldn't help but laugh. Thinking carefully, Chiharu Takasugi's personality was definitely the kind of annihilation momentum I was. As I continued, I felt something was wrong with Mio Takasugi. At this point, a sudden inspiration struck me. Lin Yan's surname is Takasugi, and the finance department minister's surname is Takasugi. Could there be some kind of relationship between them? Mizuki Kisaragi frowned slightly. Ever since she developed depression, she was able to get by at the company at first, but her mood worsened and she stopped going. So she wasn't really aware of the personnel changes. If Chiharu Takasugi only arranged for someone to join the company, it wouldn't be a big problem, but if she used her power to favor Mio Takasugi, honey, are you listening? Mizuki Kisaragi snapped back to reality. What did you say? I took a deep breath. They didn't believe I was married. How about we take a photo with our phones together? That way, if someone asks, I'll have evidence. Honestly, if I could, I'd rather post Mizuki Kisaragi's photos directly on my moments. But since my mother Sayaka's joints haven't been cleared, I really don't dare to refuse. But when mom opens her moments and sees her own son and her best friend sweet, her blood pressure will definitely spike to 20 or 80. Mizuki Kisaragi stiffened all over, her mind racing. Her husband is always the type to show off. If they took a group photo, she'd guess. It wouldn't take half a day to figure it out. Everyone in the company, including the stray cats in the parking lot, would find out he married her. What would happen then? Honey, what do you think? I excitedly took out my phone and started searching for a couple photo poses. Mizuki Kisaragi's smile was a bit stiff. I don't really like taking photos or showing off. Maybe I should just forget it. I was a bit disappointed, but didn't force it. If I insisted, I wouldn't have to take the photos. I'll stamp the marriage certificate at the company tomorrow. I don't believe they can still suspect me. Mizuki Kisaragi's smile grew even stiffer, but she didn't say anything, just nodded and brushed it off vaguely. The next morning, when I woke up, I found that Mizuki Kisaragi was already up. I was already up. Questions and wonders, honey. Why are you up so early today? Mizuki Kisaragi slowly walked over and said softly, "The doctor said, early to bed and early to get up is good for my health. By the way, breakfast is already prepared on Monday, so you should get up soon." After breakfast, I wanted to look for the marriage certificate, but the certificate I had originally put in my suitcase just couldn't be found this time. I'm furious, what's clearly left here is gone. Mizuki Kisaragi sat to the side, tilting her head, and said, "Maybe you remembered wrong. You're almost late for work. Let's find it when we get back. I want it. Take it to those flies to see. I had a sudden idea. Wife, what about yours? It's the same for me." Mizuki Kisaragi shook her head. "My marriage certificate is with Mom, and now it's too late for her to deliver it. You should go to work soon." As Mizuki Kisaragi spoke, she gave me a kiss on the cheek, though still unwilling to accept it. Seeing that time was about right, he could only leave the house somewhat disappointed. But as soon as I entered the company, I noticed that my colleagues looked at me a bit off, as if they were staring at a pervert who had died. Sure enough, a colleague dashed over. "Director Sayonji asked you to come to his office." I was stunned and quickly nodded. "Okay, I'll come over right away." At that moment, the colleague lowered her voice again, grinning mischievously. "What did you do to Mio Takasugi from the finance department yesterday with Mio Takasugi from the finance department? Today she came to the company with red eyes. Director Sayonji probably came to you because of this." After she finished speaking, she patted me on the shoulder. "I'll be on my own." Pointing at himself, he looked utterly incredulous. "What had he done to Mio?" A colleague gave a dark smile. "Didn't you go on a field assignment with her yesterday? You didn't even come back after work. Everyone knows, but you're quite bold. Mio Takasugi is the niece of the finance department minister and is famously beautiful throughout the department. She actually dared to do such a thing. She was an unparalleled role model." She gave a thumbs up. My jaw is about to drop to the floor. Damn, don't talk nonsense, okay? Once she's done, she'll leave. I'll go home to be with my wife. What am I up to? The colleague pursed his lips and couldn't help but regret. "Fine, enough making things up. You're on your own." I watched helplessly as my colleague walked away, my whole body pushing hard. Riku Moriyama suddenly came up with this matter out of nowhere, but he gave the same thumbs up. Son is awesome. He's just started working a few days ago and already bullied a female colleague until his eyes turned red. As your father, I admit defeat. Coming back to his senses, he punched him repeatedly. "Shut up, that's the kind of person you think you are." Saying that, I couldn't be bothered to waste words and headed straight for the provincial committee office. I wanted to see what was really going on. This colleague looked at Chiharu Takasugi in front of her with a stern face in her office. The provincial committee couldn't help but feel a headache coming on. He said in a low voice, "Minister Takasugi, don't blame me for not giving you the secret. This Haru is no ordinary employee. I know the Fumiko brought her in, Chiharu Takasugi interrupted her, but so what? We still have to follow the rules." Chiharu chattered on, clearly determined to stand up for Mio Takasugi. Just then, I knocked and walked in. "Director Sayonji? You're looking for me." The provincial committee called me in and hurriedly asked, "Haru, you're finally here. What exactly happened after you and Mio Takasugi went out yesterday? How come the young lady came back and cried so hard her eyes were swollen?" As soon as they entered, they saw Chiharu Takasugi, the department director's face ashen, and Mio Takasugi, her swollen eyes but looking at her with pride. What a dramatic scene. At this moment, Chiharu Takasugi said coldly, "What did you do to Mio last night? What does tactical fadeaway mean by what I did to her?" "She didn't do anything. So why did Mio cry so much her eyes were swollen? How did I know?" I glanced at Mio Takasugi strangely. He happened to meet her smug gaze. "Mio Takasugi, make yourself clear. What did I do to you yesterday?" Mio Takasugi hadn't spoken until now, crying and saying, "You've hurt my pride." This time, not only me, but even the provincial committee was cursing. Chiharu Takasugi looked annoyed. "Mio, were you bullied by her? What exactly happened?" "I'm being bullied," Mio Takasugi said confidently. "I even lowered myself to make peace with her and invited her out for a meal. Chikuo, she rejected me and even kept saying she had a wife and didn't fancy someone like me, and in the end, she refused to take me home and ran off with her. The more I talked, the more imposing it became." Besides, we went out for business, and she was responsible for escorting me home. Even if it was a private matter, as a man, she shouldn't have any dignity at all. Laughing in anger. First of all, if you try to befriend me, I have to accept you. What do you think you are? Secondly, I do have a wife. And besides, even if I don't, what does it have to do with you? Finally, I slammed my palm on the table. I really hate women like you who lack distance. Mio Takasugi was stunned by the shout, but then heard her snap out of it. Indeed, Chiharu Takasugi and the provincial committee were both startled. At this moment, everyone in the office was stunned by Mio Takasugi's repeated dismissals. Chiharu frowned. Although the finance department director was a veteran of the company, Haru was no ordinary employee. He had been personally brought in by Fumiko. Someone like that could not simply be dismissed. At this moment, I belatedly felt a surge of regret. I had offended the little fairy, and it turned out she had some backing. If the job he finally found was lost like this, it would be a shame. He'd have to earn money to support his wife. Thinking this, I quickly looked at General Sayonji of the provincial committee. I didn't do anything wrong, so I can't just fire me like that. Seeing this, the provincial committee quickly said, "Don't be afraid. You're from my marketing department. Even if you get fired, it's my decision, and it has nothing to do with anyone else." Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. Mio Takasugi was so angry she nearly fainted, stomping her foot hard and acting spoiled at Chiharu Takasugi. Chiharu Takasugi originally wanted me to apologize and let it pass, but I never intended to actually fire her. But now, with my current state and the provincial committee's words, she can afford to be so capable. That's how you manage your subordinates. The provincial committee was speechless. Please, this is your niece's fault, right? Haru said she's already married, yet she insists on getting involved. Now that she's being rejected, she just says Haru bullies her. Is there any law? What is she, a fairy or something? Everyone has to yield to her, right? Mio Takasugi quickly replied coldly, "I don't believe she got married. Not only did she have no marriage certificate or ring, she couldn't even take photos together. Isn't that obviously deceiving me?" She said this, then pursed her lips. Even if she had a wife, she definitely couldn't compare to me. I graduated from a prestigious university, was beautiful and capable. It's your honor to have my eye on you. What right do you have to reject me? At this moment, Mio Takasugi just wants to regain her dignity and give me a hard blow. I couldn't take it anymore and slammed my palm on the table. Even if I lied to you? So what? Are you annoying? You're pretty, capable, and if you really are, you're still thinking about men like me. Let me say it again. I have a wife, and she's hundreds of times prettier than you. You can't even compare to a finger of hers. Mio Takasugi was stunned by the scolding, snapping back to reality and bursting into tears. Chiharu Takasugi glared at Mio Takasugi and stood up with a crane, shouting, "No crying! Isn't it embarrassing enough?" Then he looked at me. "And you. You just insulted your colleagues in front of me? Given the seriousness of the situation and the terrible impact, you were fired. Pack your things and get out." Seeing Chiharu Takasugi's seriousness, the committee member was getting a bit anxious now. Because of the minister's situation, things can't be handled like this. Did the person who fired me ask for my opinion? Besides, let's talk about Harushi. I didn't care who she was. Chiharu Takasugi interrupted her without waiting for the judges to finish. Someone who disrespects women and openly insults colleagues like this, Honey Technology can't afford her. Of course, she knew Fumiko had stepped back from the front lines long ago, and the chairwoman was ill. Chiharu didn't believe that after working beside the chairwoman for more than 10 years, she would be punished over something so minor. At this point, Chiharu Takasugi felt even more at ease. I stood there without moving. Chiharu Takasugi immediately said coldly, "Why do you want me to send security to chase you away?" Mio was being dismissive, smiling smugly. HMPH. Now you realize your mistake, right? Seeing this, I sneered and turned to leave. Tome Sayonji is getting anxious. Oh no, wait a moment. Seeing that I didn't turn around, I could only look at Minister Chiharu Takasugi. Look, you're making a scene. You're firing her like that. Aren't you afraid Fumiko will be angry? Chiharu Takasugi's expression was calm and indifferent. The Fumiko had long since stepped back from the front lines. Tome Sayonji put it plainly was principled, but fortunately he didn't care. Anyway, the person was the one you fired. If the Fumiko asked, it had nothing to do with me. As soon as I got back to the office, I started packing. Seeing me so unhappy, Riku Moriyama quickly asked what was going on. He explained everything in detail. After Riku Moriyama figured it out, he got angry and was about to confront them, but I stopped her. Forget it. You know Chiharu Takasugi's position? She's one of the chairwoman's most trusted executives. Firing an intern like me is just a matter of paperwork. Saying that, I turned around with a carefree attitude and said, "Good boy, focus on your work. If I can't find a job anytime soon, I'll have to rely on you to support me." Riku Moriyama watched me leave, sighed helplessly, and said, "Don't worry, with my salary this high, supporting you alone is no problem. I'll go back to the provincial committee to test my waist." The provincial committee wants to speak but stops. After a long pause, she patted my shoulder. "Haru, I'm sorry. I blame Chiharu Takasugi only because she has the chairwoman's trust. I really had no choice. If you don't get too long, don't worry. Go back and rest for a few days. I'll contact my friend's company, and they can arrange a pretty decent job for you." The provincial committee's calculations were pounding. No matter what, this kid definitely had some connection to the Fumiko. Now that he's been fired, it's hard to say whether the Fumiko would help, but selling him first would definitely be a good deal. "Thank you, Mr. Saionji, for coming." When she arrived at the company building, Mio Takasugi was actually waiting at the entrance. I didn't even glance at her, walked around her, and walked away. At the company entrance, Mio Takasugi was actually waiting for him. I stopped in my tracks, feeling a bit regretful. "What's wrong?" Mio Takasugi immediately felt smug, hesitating, regretting it too late. "If you agree to be my boyfriend now, then I'll ask my aunt to let you stay. You don't want to find a job or stop?" "Pause," I interrupted Mio Takasugi directly. "What I regret is that I had been too gentle just now." "What did you say?" Mio Takasugi was so angry her face didn't twist for a long time, and after just saying the word, "you," she cried again. I was in a great mood, humming a tune and walking away, but after leaving the company, I was in a dilemma again. Yesterday, I had sworn that my salary was high and that I could earn money to support the family, so Mizuki Kisaragi could just stay at home peacefully. But in the blink of an eye, I was fired. If I'd known earlier, I would have held back. I sighed, wandered outside for a while, and decided not to tell Mizuki Kisaragi about my unemployment for now. After all, Mizuki Kisaragi's health was poor, and saying it out loud only worried her wouldn't do her any good. Once I made up my mind, I went to the talent market and started looking for jobs from company to company. Coincidentally, Mizuki Kisaragi's cousin, Ayaka Kisaragi, happened to pass by. "Isn't this Haru?" Ayaka Kisaragi watched me enter through the car window and couldn't help but curse her. What was she doing here? Puzzled, Ayaka Kisaragi got out of the car and quietly followed her. When she realized I was looking for a job, she immediately pressed me hard, wanting to go up and ask for answers. But in the end, she changed her mind and called Mizuki Kisaragi directly. I spent the whole day at the talent market and only got back to the station right after work. At my doorstep, I took a deep breath before opening the door. "Honey, I came back," my voice cheerful, showing no sign of unemployment. At that moment, Mizuki Kisaragi, who was sitting on the sofa reading, saw me come back. Mizuki Kisaragi put down her book and tentatively asked, "Why are you home so late today?" "Late?" I pretended to be puzzled. "Isn't this usually the time? I don't get off work until 6. Honey, let me tell you, I almost made a fool of myself at work today. I was changing my shoes while racking my brains to make up stories, trying hard to make things look normal." At first, Mizuki Kisaragi was still a bit puzzled. Soon she realized her husband didn't want to worry about her. Even after being fired, he pretends nothing happened, secretly looking for a job, trying to take it all himself. Thinking of this, Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly felt a sting in her nose, but more than that, she was both moved and annoyed. This time, Chiharu Takasugi went too far. Every night, as usual, I soaked Mizuki Kisaragi's feet and massaged her, coaxing her to sleep. But I didn't fall into a deep sleep until the second half of the night, waiting for me to fall asleep. Mizuki Kisaragi opened her eyes. In the darkness, her voice was very soft. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Early the next morning, after breakfast, I put on a full of energy and said, "Honey, I'm off to work. Be careful on the way. I'll wait for you to come home." Mizuki Kisaragi smiled and waved her over. As soon as I stepped outside, my face turned sour. I was about to go to the job market and act like a fool again, but no matter what, I worked hard for my wife. The talent market was bustling and packed with people looking for jobs. I followed them, stuffing resumes everywhere, squeezing my phone into the ring several times without realizing it. At the same time, Chiharu, who was refusing to answer calls from Mizuhana Biotech Group, looked at her phone in frustration. I originally thought that if an intern was fired, they would just be fired, but unexpectedly she received a late-night call from the chairwoman. The usually gentle chairwoman made an unprecedented decision, ordering her to find me no matter what. Although the chairwoman did not say what would happen if she failed, Chiharu could tell the consequences would be serious. Of course, Chiharu Takasugi also tentatively tried to find out my identity, but all she got in return was a simple message telling her to go find someone immediately, and then the call was hung up. Helpless, she accused me of calling me, but the call never went through. The more Chiharu thought about it, the more irritated she became. She slammed her palm on the table and told the person beside her, "Go and call Haru from the marketing department." Riku Moriyama realized that when Chiharu Takasugi came looking for her, she was completely at a loss. But without delay, I hurried to Yubu to find you and me. "Can you get in touch with Haru? Riku Moriyama is fierce you went to see a Haru. Didn't you fire him? What, even after being kicked out of the company, you're still not satisfied and still want to find and teach them a lesson? That's going too far. I need to talk to her about something, but she doesn't answer her phone. You can help contact Chiharu Takasugi's voice to bring Riku Moriyama back to reality." Riku Moriyama was stunned for a moment. A surge of anger welled up in his heart. Your niece Mio Takasugi and Haru didn't get along, so he rejected her. Your niece wouldn't be this unreasonable, would she? Chiharu Takasugi's expression froze, and she suddenly felt a bit flushed. In fact, she knew in her heart that she was wrong about this matter. He wasn't married and had no children. Mio Takasugi was like her own daughter. How could she watch her suffer so much? The chairwoman had personally ordered him brought back. Chiharu had lost face, but even so, she had to make it happen. Chiharu Takasugi took a deep breath and said, "I'll pretend to be calm and look for her. He has something serious and serious matters to discuss, not about anything to deal with. You should contact her first. Rikolai has a bad temper. Who knows if you still want to humiliate him? As for me, I instinctively want to show my pride and self-discipline." In the end, he still held back, gritted his teeth, and said that ignoring the humiliation was just asking him to come back to work at the company. That should be fine, right? Really? You're not lying to me. Riku Moriyama is asking the soul-searching question. Chiharu Takasugi gritted her teeth and nodded. Only then did Riku Moriyama breathe a sigh of relief and happily dial my number. At that time, I had contacted 10 companies in a row in the job market, all saying I would wait for news when I returned. I was wondering whether to go do food delivery. The phone rang, so I took out my phone and answered Riku Moriyama's call. "Haru, where did you go? Why won't you answer the phone and look for him? Where else could I go for work?" I sighed. After all, I still have to earn money to support my wife. Riku Moriyama rolled his eyes and came again. "All right, hurry back to the office and wait." After Riku Moriyama left, Chiharu Takasugi called Mio Takasugi in. As soon as Mio Takasugi entered the office, "What's wrong with you, Auntie?" She still had the nerve to ask what was wrong, but Chiharu Takasugi was full of anger with nowhere to vent. Seeing Mio Takasugi, she couldn't help but hold back. Just thinking about what the chairwoman had said made Chiharu furious. She couldn't understand what kind of background could move the usually calm chairwoman so deeply. If she didn't know the chairwoman's temperament, she might have assumed Haru was some handsome young man kept by the chairwoman. Mio Takasugi had always been pampered, and now after being scolded, her eyes instantly turned red. Auntie, you say I like any guy in the company and bravely pursue her. Is this how you chase after me?" Chiharu Takasugi slammed her palm on the table. "Besides, she already said she's married," Mio frowned. "I don't believe Haru is really married. He has no wedding ring or photo to prove it. Isn't he obviously lying to me?" Chiharu was so angry, she nearly coughed up blood. At this point, Mio Takasugi became curious again. "What happened? Everyone got fired, Auntie. Why bring her up again?" Chiharu Takasugi took a deep breath and suppressed her anger. That Haru was a man with connections. The employee had been fired. Then the chairwoman called that very night and ordered Chiharu to bring him back. If she failed, Chiharu felt she might as well retire early. Mio Takasugi immediately gasped. "The chairwoman has never married, just like you, Aunt Chiharu, right? Haru is so handsome. Could he really be the chairwoman's kept favorite?" He simply rejected the confession from the fairy colleague. He was immediately fired by the company leadership. But what they don't know is me, Those who had just woken up were old. It turned out to be the long-absent president of the company. Firing my boss is a tough guy. The president was fired in the morning. The call to hold them accountable was received in the middle of the night. At that moment, I listened to Riku Moriyama's words on the phone, stunned. What was it meant that yesterday they fired me, and today they want to call me back again? Stay alert. Riku Moriyama urged, no matter what, being back is a good thing. Hurry up, I'm still waiting for you to come back and play games together during lunch break. I answered a few random questions, hung up, and fell into deep thought, wondering what exactly this fish Phoenix gourd was really selling. Mio Takasugi said she was unwilling to give her a way out. If I didn't go back to work, it would be really hard to find him. After thinking it over, I finally decided not to go back and endure this humiliation. Another point is the finance department minister's office inside fishing. Mio was looking at Aunt Chiharu with a gossiping expression. I remember the chairwoman hasn't married in all these years. Just like you. So Haru is handsome enough to be the chairwoman's favorite? The more he talked, the more convinced he was guessing correctly. Otherwise, how could a wish be to get a car and a private office right after joining the company? And the salary is so high. Chiharu Takasugi shook her head. No way. I've worked beside the chairwoman for years. Nobody knows her better than I do. Besides, if the chairwoman really had feelings like that, she wouldn't have withdrawn from work after falling into depression. Mio brushed it off. Fine. If the chairwoman wants to find Haru, why don't you just call him? We're so well treated, all you have to do is wave her hand. She'll come back to work like a dog, biting her tail like a dog. The call had already been made, but Chiharu Takasugi didn't even answer. As she spoke, she looked coldly at Mio Takasugi again. You caused this mess, so you should be responsible for calling her back. I don't care what you do, I have to get her back to work tomorrow. Cherishing Mio Takasugi couldn't compare to her own interests. Mio Takasugi was stunned. Auntie, you know I offended her. If she offended her, she would apologize. Chiharu Takasugi interrupted Mio Takasugi directly, then kicked her out of the office. In the afternoon, Riku Moriyama waited for me in the office, but I didn't see me, and instead waited for Mio Takasugi to come over to fish. Mio walked in and was so carefree. You're Haru's friend, right? Riku Moriyama was stunned, then instantly realized what the little fairy was doing. The little fairy Mio Takasugi frowned, looking impatient. Where's Laren? Didn't my aunt tell her to come back to work? Why hasn't she come back all day? Call her to urge her. Riku Moriyama laughed angrily. Sorry, I don't have time. At this moment, she finally understood why I hadn't come back and acted so stingily. Who could tolerate that? Seeing this, Mio Takasugi said angrily, my aunt already asked, and she still won't come back. What? It matters? What's the big deal? Riku Moriyama, to put it plainly, is already impressive just by making a verbal move. After all, your aunt is just the head of the finance department, and you still rely on personnel to openly harass other colleagues. Mio Takasugi was so angry she stomped her feet. Anyway, I don't care. Call Haru now and have her come back to work. Riku Moriyama rolled his eyes at me. So what if I don't listen? If you have the guts, let your aunt fire me too. Riku Moriyama was also very firm at this moment. She didn't believe it. The moment Chiharu Takasugi fired me, she was anxious and eager to get me back. At such a critical moment, she still dared to fire her. Sure enough, Mio Takasugi was furious. But she didn't dare say anything harsh and could only leave through gritted teeth. Riku Moriyama immediately took out his phone and dialed my number. Haru, why aren't you back at the company today? That little fairy came to see me. I called you to come back to work. You don't have such a good job, but you don't plan to come back, do you? When I got Riku Moriyama's call, I happened to come out of the talent market. I heard his words and sneered, Go back. What's the point of me? Don't think I don't know about the Chiharu Takasugi's extinction situation. If you can call me back, it's probably a little fairy showing her power, thinking she'll give me a little sweet. If I go back under these circumstances, I'll be completely outclassed by them. Isn't that just being a live-in son-in-law? Get lost, Riku Moriyama argued and cursed. If you can't find a job again, I'll have to support you. Speaking seriously, I don't think it's like what you said about wanting you to be a bad son-in-law. Maybe you should come back first and talk about me later. He curled his lips and said, If I weren't drooling over bro, would someone like him bow his head every time? If I didn't go back, I'd just deliver food while looking for a new place. At least I'd be able to support my family. Riku Moriyama sighed. All right, fine. If you don't come back, then don't come. Hold on a bit longer. When my buddy gets paid, I'll split half with you. Laughing. Then I'll be waiting, hang up. I called and saw it was about time, so I went home to wait. At the dinner table, I always put on a calm and composed demeanor, racking my brains to make up funny company stories to share with Mizuki Kisaragi. Mizuki Kisaragi immediately saw through my meaning. After dinner, when I went to wash the dishes, she took out her phone and sent a message. One day, I went out as usual, pretending to go to work, but as soon as I left the neighborhood, I got a call. Bro, where are you? Riku Moriyama's helpless voice came over, hurrying over. My family's old home is from the martial world. Mio Takasugi hurriedly asked Chiharu what was going on. Chiharu came looking for you and insisted on seeing you. Now she's blocking the way and won't let me through. Seeing this, I understood too. Come over. It seems Chiharu Takasugi won't let things go unless things are clear. If handled poorly, it might even drag Riku Moriyama into it. From here, I took a taxi straight to the Riku Moriyama apartment. As soon as he got out of the car, he saw Riku Moriyama squatting next to an Audi, his face as bitter as a bitter melon. When it was my turn, Riku Moriyama immediately jumped up. Damn, you finally made it to me. Lowered the voice. Riku Moriyama raised his head toward Odion, lowering his voice even lower, his face looking terrible. You'd better fend for yourself. When I went to work, Riku Moriyama said this, and dashed off without waiting for my reply. Damn, so unloyal, I just finished cursing. The car window rolled down and Chiharu Takasugi watched me get in. With that attitude, I rolled my eyes. Auntie, I'm begging you, your niece can't reach my level, so you want me— If you fire me, I'll just get out of here quickly. Stop bothering me, okay? And definitely don't bother my brother. Chiharu instantly turned Chiharu Takasugi's expression dark, and she even had the urge to step on the gas and slam the gas in. In the end, she pressed it down, and Chiharu Takasugi squeezed out through clenched teeth. Get in the car first, then talk about you. Could my niece be in the car? I peeked in and tearfully said, I didn't even touch her the day before yesterday, and she was accused of bullying her. If she were in the car, you two sisters and aunt teamed up to slander me, then I really wouldn't have been able to wake up even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Chiharu Takasugi was furious. I was the only one in the car. She asked you to get in to talk about your return to the company, right? It has nothing to do with Mio Takasugi. Sending you back to the company isn't forcing you to be friends with her. I raised an eyebrow. Even if I didn't force you, no matter how much you said, I couldn't accept her fishing for it. Chiharu is about to lose control. I already told you it has nothing to do with her. Looking at her face, relying on the pain, he thought it over and got in the car. After all, he couldn't really drag Riku Moriyama down because of this. After getting in the car, Chiharu Takasugi kicked the door, and the car flew out with a carefree wit. Startled, hey, you won't refuse your niece just because of me. Take me with you and take me down with you. Can you just shut up, just drive properly? After driving far away, Chiharu Takasugi finally calmed down. She took a deep breath and said seriously, You want me to go back to work, why don't you go back to me? He pouted, A real man can kill but not humiliate. If I go back, wouldn't that mean I'm bowing my head to you all? Right now, she's using work to force me to date Mio Takasugi. Next time, will she force me to marry her? I can endure this grievance. Chiharu Takasugi closed her eyes, her molars nearly grinding to pieces. Back to work. I promise Mio won't bother you anymore, not even show up in front of you again. Is that enough? I kind of suspect that you really want me to go back to work just to force me to date Mio Takasugi. Little did she know, Chiharu was equally baffled. She couldn't understand why the chairwoman, who had always cared only about work, suddenly seemed so interested in a young man just entering society. The chairwoman had truly changed. Chiharu shook her head, refusing to speculate. Others didn't know her, but Chiharu did. Chiharu thought to herself that seeing the chairwoman fall in love would be harder than seeing an iron tree bloom, let alone seeing her choose a partner. Chiharu let out a long sigh. No matter what, you came back. What happened before was my fault, so I apologize to you. I thought seriously and stopped my thoughts. To be honest, I really need to work. Honey Technology's job is truly perfect. Are you sure your niece won't come back to bother me again? Chiharu squeezed out 2 words through clenched teeth. I'm sure. When I get back, I'll take her away. I'll never let her appear in front of you again. Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief. That was more like it. You should drive me back to the company. The day before yesterday, I was kicked out of the company by Chiharu Takasugi, and today I rode back in her car. I had both the inside and the face, and I was well deserved. Chiharu took a deep breath and said no more. As the car grew quiet, the atmosphere suddenly became awkward. I wasn't embarrassed. I was busy studying the Audi I was in. After looking around, I concluded that the SU-7 the company gave me was not as good as the SU-7. When I got to SU-7, I immediately said, before I left, the company had already given me a car. Now that I go back, can the car still belong to me? Chiharu Takasugi endured, and it was yours, whether it was yours or not. Just one day after I resigned, the chairwoman called several times. No wonder the company was so determined to give me that car. Nobody knew what kind of relationship I had with her. Chiharu racked her brains. A sudden thought struck her. Judging by his age, could Haru be the chairwoman's son? Thinking of this, Chiharu Takasugi suddenly turned her head to look at me. Okay, I looked over too, our eyes met, and we caught fish. Chiharu looked at my clear eyes and handsome features, feeling a wave of anger on his face. He hurriedly looked away, but in her heart, she couldn't help but wonder. He'd heard that Chiharu Takasugi was already 40 this year, and her maintenance was just like Xiaofu, who was just over 30. Still, compared to her precious wife, she was still a bit lacking. Thinking of my own wife, Mizuki Kisaragi, I couldn't help but smile. Chiharu Takasugi saw that I wasn't smiling, and suddenly felt her heart skip a beat, then reflected inwardly. Chiharu Takasugi, what are you thinking? Haru is just a rookie. Maybe he's even the chairwoman's son. Why am I making such ridiculous assumptions? Thinking of this, Chiharu Takasugi started hitting me again. Is there dirt on your face? If you're driving, just drive properly. Don't keep staring at me. I don't want to live, I don't want to die. My voice pulled Chiharu Takasugi back to reality. Startled, she quickly said, I'm looking in the rearview mirror. Who is watching you? You're talking and then changing the subject. Where are you listening back home? Seeing this, I suddenly understood. See, I hit the nail on the head, and you said you didn't want to connect me with your niece. Now they're starting to find out where I'm from. Let me tell you, I will never give in. I have a wife myself, and my wife is gentle, beautiful, and as beautiful as a fairy. She is nothing like your spoiled little princess. Chiharu's face flushed red and then paled, and in her heart she cursed Mio Takasugi to the core, cursing her to the bone. I misunderstood. Chiharu Takasugi raised her voice. I was just chatting casually. I said I'd transfer Mio Takasugi away, so I definitely will. What are you still worried about? Only then did I breathe a sigh of relief, remembering Chiharu Takasugi's position. I finally answered, I'm from Nagano Prefecture. Chiharu was startled. Nagano Prefecture, the same region where she had grown up? If I remember correctly, the chairwoman's hometown was also in Nagano Prefecture. Could Haru really be the chairwoman's son? The chairwoman was nearly 40 and had a dignified presence, but nothing about her suggested she had recently given birth. Chiharu was puzzled and asked simply, Then what are your parents' names? That's enough, I'm getting anxious. It's one thing to ask about my hometown, but even my parents are asking. They're basically background checks for your niece. Chiharu Takasugi also realized what was happening, feeling a bit embarrassed and annoyed at that damn girl. She had truly embarrassed her. Seeing this, I pursed my lips, not wanting to offend him so badly. I sighed and said, Let's wait until you really transfer the person away. You're asking like this, I'm really afraid of Takasugi. Chiharu fell silent and focused on the road, her expression thoughtful. As soon as I got to the company, I drew countless gazes as soon as I got out of the car. It was exactly the time for work, and all my colleagues rushed over from home. Suddenly seeing me, the sounds of breathing rose and fell one after another. Wow, isn't this the super impressive newcomer from the marketing department? Wasn't he fired? Why is he here again today? And he got out of Madame Chiharu's car? What background does this guy personally bring back from Madame Chiharu is like? She probably gave in, after all, putting aside her temper. The little princess was actually quite pretty. The sound of the debate echoed endlessly, and Chiharu Takasugi's face turned as dark as mine. After getting off the bus, she poked her head back again. Minister Takasugi, remember to transfer your niece away. Chiharu Takasugi gritted her teeth. Without your reminder, she regretted her miscalculation. If she'd known, she would have just driven straight to the underground parking lot. After Chiharu Takasugi left, a bold colleague immediately rushed over, saying, quote, "Bro, you're back at work again." He nodded. My colleague immediately gave a thumbs up. How could he be fired one moment and then come back the next? And it was Madame Chiharu who personally went to pick him up. "This is my boyfriend who promised to be the little princess." She grinned and shook her head, saying, "Forget it. Even if I starve to death, I would never date someone like that." It wasn't that the little princess colleagues stared wide-eyed. You wouldn't be trying to get close to Madame Chiharu, would you? At this moment, I was happily returning to work at the company. I don't know if the finance department is already in an uproar. "You're going to transfer me to the branch company." Mio Takasugi stared at Chiharu Takasugi in shock and anger. "Why? You're still my aunt." Chiharu was a little annoyed. "You offended someone for no reason. Haru wants to come back to work, but you can't keep treating him this way. Do you really want to be transferred to the branch?" By the end, Chiharu was already angry. She was already annoyed by being misunderstood by outsiders as a sugar daddy, and now she's her own niece causing her trouble. Mio Takasugi was also annoyed. Haru isn't anything special. He's just a new intern. Yet even the chairwoman has to treat you, Aunt Chiharu, with respect. Why should you be afraid of an intern? Mio Takasugi said this, but her gaze grew suspicious as she sized up Chiharu Takasugi. Or was it that, as they said, you actually had a crush on a Haru too, but before she could finish, she got slapped in the face. "Shut up!" Chiharu Takasugi was so angry she trembled all over. "Mio Takasugi, I'm not married myself. I treat you like my own daughter. Take care of your studies and work all to me. And now I get you with just one sentence. Do you have any conscience?" Mio Takasugi was beaten so hard that you actually hit me. I hate you the most. Mio Takasugi said as she was about to run, but Chiharu Takasugi grabbed her in one go. "Until now, I thought I hadn't raised you well, and I accepted it. But today, you must make it clear. Resign or go to the branch office." He finally saw clearly that this niece was unreliable, since that was the case. Keeping his own job was the most important thing. Mio Takasugi glared at her aunt with tears streaming down her face. "I'm done doing this, I'm done." After saying that, Mio Takasugi turned and left. But after only a few steps, she turned and glared at Chiharu Takasugi. "Don't think. I don't know you. You just thought Haru was handsome, but now you've even driven me away for her. I hate you for looking at me." Mio Takasugi slammed the door and left. Chiharu Takasugi sat down in her office chair as if exhausted. Mood gave a bitter smile, showing a bitter smile. She now understood the truth behind kindness and grudges. After a long while, Chiharu Takasugi picked up her phone and dialed a number. The chairwoman has already ordered Haru back to work at the company. After reporting the situation here, Chiharu Takasugi pinched her brow and couldn't help but ask about my identity by phone. There was a long silence on the other end. "You? Don't get involved in this matter anymore. Unless you made some fundamental mistake, I don't want this kind of thing to happen again." Foolish. Chiharu was about to finish her call, but before she could speak, the other side had already hung up. Time flew by, and it was the weekend. Mizuki Kisaragi and I were preparing to go to the hospital for today's checkup. Today, Mizuki Kisaragi is dressed in a pure white and white pearl shirt and pink pants, exuding a mature charm. I couldn't help but wonder again, wondering if my single years were just because I liked Day and waited for us. He arrived downstairs. A child rushed over, and before he could dodge, he accidentally kicked him, and immediately burst into loud sobs. Mizuki Kisaragi startled me. She quickly helped her up, brushed the dust off her clothes, and stopped crying. A real man only falls once. You can't let a little pearl drop. A little boy immediately smiled and thanked me. Mizuki Kisaragi watched the little boy return to his mother's side, and unexpectedly, a trace of longing arose in her heart. Seeing how gentle I was to that child just now made her feel a stir. Insensitively, he asked, "Haru, do you like children?" I was stunned and instinctively wanted to answer. When I looked at the fine sweat on Mizuki Kisaragi's forehead and her slightly pale face, I couldn't help but sigh and shake my head, saying I didn't like it. Mizuki Kisaragi's body couldn't have children for at least 2 years. She was too weak to bear the risk of pregnancy. Mizuki Kisaragi heard my reply and muttered a bit disappointed, saying she didn't like me. He quickly grabbed her hand. What good was the child? Making a fuss, wasting time and money, the four-legged gold-devouring beast was no joke. Mizuki Kisaragi didn't want to force me either, so she followed my lead and changed the subject. They arrived at the hospital quickly, and as soon as they got out of the car, they saw Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi waiting. "Mom, Sister Ayaka, what brings you here?" Mizuki Kisaragi was a bit surprised. I explained that it was my message. "Are you coming back for a follow-up today? They've been worried about you all along, and your body came together. Mizuki, how are you feeling now?" Fumiko Kisaragi held Mizuki's hand, teasing her nonstop. Ever since Mizuki started living with me and asked for some time to herself, she had mostly left me alone, calling only occasionally to chat. Thue's girlfriend Ayaka was calling and said, "Auntie, look at Mizuki's face is much chubby than before. You know Lei takes good care of her, I have it." A bit embarrassed, Mizuki's my wife, and it's only natural for her to take care of her. The group chatted and laughed as they entered the hospital. The hospital had a follow-up and a full physical exam, with Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi accompanying Mizuki Kisaragi. They had to run up and down to pay fees and collect medicinal leaves. Ayaka felt a bit sentimental. "Mizuki, how have you gotten along lately?" Mizuki's cheeks flushed shyly, saying shyly, "That's pretty good." Ayaka laughed. "Oh, you're still shy. Auntie, look." Mizuki is blushing again. She's completely different from the aloof CEO she used to be. Fumiko also laughed. Mizuki Kisaragi felt even more embarrassed, but Ayaka Kisaragi showed no intention of letting her off the hook. Her voice suddenly dropped to a whisper. "Mizuki, are you two planning to sleep together tonight?" Mizuki Kisaragi immediately lowered her head. Her ears and neck flushed red, and her voice was so low she could barely hear what cousin was saying. This was serious business. Ayaka Kisaragi held her hand with a serious expression. "Although you two are husband and wife now, your body is so weak, and you're young and strong. You can't mess around." Ayaka Kisaragi said earnestly, "You can't just be coaxed and ignore everything now. If you get pregnant, how can your body handle it?" Fumiko Kisaragi also realized and nodded along. "Your cousin is right, Mizuki. Forget about everything else, but this is something you must pay attention to. I told you, until your health fully recovers, you should sleep in separate rooms." The two of them chatted in a dreamy way as Mizuki Kisaragi felt increasingly unable to lift her head. "Mom, cousin, what nonsense are you talking about? Although Haru and I sleep together, she respects me a lot." Mizuki Kisaragi says this, but scenes unconsciously flash through her mind. "For a while, every night I've soaked her feet and massaged her, then held her to sleep. Although sometimes I deliberately indulge in a bit of passion. Every time I manage to stop in time." But Mizuki Kisaragi herself thought that sometimes she was so aroused that she couldn't quite speak, and she was so embarrassed she couldn't speak, almost breaking it with a single kick. Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi exchanged glances, both seeing disbelief in each other's eyes. Just as they were about to speak, they saw me jogging over. My Fumiko's test results came out, and the doctor told us to come in. Mizuki Kisaragi suddenly stood up as if the completely startled were startled, quickly linking arms with mine. Seeing Mizuki Kisaragi trying to escape as well, Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi exchanged a smile in unison. Mizuki Kisaragi's follow-up results were excellent. Even the doctor was a bit shocked. The doctor pointed to the X-ray, and judging by the current situation, she could be completely out of a wheelchair in another half month at most, able to run and jump like a normal person. This was wonderful. Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi were moved to tears. Mizuki Kisaragi was also pleasantly surprised. Now, she had completely lost the idea of having a biological child. She wanted to live, to always be with me, and even wanted to have a child with me. If her body could recover, it meant all of this was possible. But I did. Yes, I still stayed close to the doctor. "Doctor, could you prescribe more tonic medicine for my wife? She's too weak, and I'm worried her immunity won't be enough to treat her." After hearing this, the doctor put on a serious expression. "Young people are impatient and don't understand that too much medicine can be harmful. The patient still needs time to recover gradually." Mizuki Kisaragi's face flushed red. She glanced at me shyly, then quickly looked at the doctor. Although she didn't say anything, the doctor understood the meaning in her eyes. The doctor nodded helplessly. "Then I'll write out a list for replenishing qi and blood. You can remember to go get the medicine later." That's enough. Her cheeks flushed even more deeply, and she tightened her grip on my arms. Fumiko Kisaragi and Ayaka Kisaragi exchanged a glance, both seeing in each other's eyes and suddenly realizing the situation. After I went to get the medicine, Ayaka Kisaragi was the first to speak. "Mizuki, look at it. Looks like you. You're definitely set on her. She now." Mizuki Kisaragi didn't answer, but she nodded with a barely noticeable hungers. Ayaka Kisaragi's expression grew even more serious. "Mizuki, actually, both Auntie and I can see that Haru truly cares about you. But life isn't like playing house. Since you've made up your mind, you have to think about what's next." As Ayaka Kisaragi spoke, she took out some documents. What was this? Mizuki Kisaragi took the documents and was momentarily stunned. Ayaka Kisaragi explained, "I had someone check. Haru's family isn't poor, but definitely not wealthy either." Before she could finish, Mizuki interrupted with a shy smile. She knew what her family was like. There is no need to investigate. As for why, you'll understand later. Ayaka was stunned for a moment, then frowned. "All right, setting your family background aside, let's talk about you. When are you planning to tell her, and how?" Mizuki Kisaragi smiled slightly. "There's no rush. Let's take it slow. I don't want people to accuse her of living off a woman, so I don't plan to reveal my identity for now." Ayaka breathed a sigh of relief. "If you think that way, that's all the better. I'm only worried you'll get dizzy and lose your way because you're too eager to please him." Mizuki Kisaragi asked in surprise. "Sister Ayaka, am I that kind of person? Who would have thought? After all, before this, I never expected that a dignified female CEO would blush and feel shy. Sister Ayaka, if you keep talking, I'll ignore you." Oh wow, you're really shy, you're actually shy." The two women burst into laughter. Fumiko suddenly spoke up. "There's something I need to explain to you." Fumiko held Mizuki's hand and said earnestly, "When I first approached Haru, I could tell he wasn't willing to agree to the marriage. In the end, he accepted out of sympathy for me, an old woman. Now he not only takes such good care of you, but he also refuses the 21.3 million yen final payment we agreed on. We cannot let him be treated unfairly." Hearing her mother say that, Mizuki finally felt the weight lift from her heart. "Mom, don't worry, I understand. Auntie, you're worrying about nothing. I'd gladly hand over everything I have. Right now, all I want is for Mizuki to be happy." Ayaka was about to say something else when I saw me already holding it and walking over. Ayaka Kisaragi immediately changed her tone and said with a cheerful smile, all right, I won't delay your date as a young couple." After leaving the hospital, I held Mizuki Kisaragi's hand and said, "The weather is so nice today. Let's go to Mount Takao and enjoy the scenery." Mizuki Kisaragi smiled and nodded, agreeing. Now that her body had recovered a lot, she wanted to go outside more often. Laughter never stopped in the car all the way, and soon we arrived at Mount Takao. They held hands and strolled slowly up the mountain. Today is Sunday, with quite a few people coming to hike, and many parents bringing their children along the mountain trail are bustling with activity. Mizuki Kisaragi held my hand and suddenly remembered the last time she came with Ayaka Kisaragi. That time she hadn't decided whether to get involved with me yet, and her heart was full of confusion. When she came again, she was already with me and had lived together for so long. Thinking of this, Mizuki Kisaragi felt an overwhelming sweetness in her heart. Just then I suddenly let go of her hand and quickened my pace. Mizuki Kisaragi was stunned, then saw me bend down and pick up something by the roadside. When I came back, I already had a pink flower in my hand. I reached out and tucked it into Mizuki Kisaragi's ear. Mizuki Kisaragi shyly lowered her head slightly to me. "I am delighted to enjoy my own masterpiece, wife. Do you know what I'm thinking? Who could be more beautiful than a flower?" The two chatted and laughed as they continued walking up the mountain. Soon, we arrived at Seiryu Temple. Mizuki Kisaragi was already gasping unevenly, but I had a bit of concern. He said, "Honey, let's rest for a while." Mizuki Kisaragi nodded. The next second, he suddenly shook his head and pulled me aside. "What's wrong?" I was startled. Before I could say anything more, Mizuki Kisaragi was already holding me tightly, and I leaned in steadily. Many people around us glanced over, but most of the looks were friendly. After all, it's common for young couples to hike together and steal a kiss, but I felt my jaw being pried open, and my whole body stiffened. Although we had always shared a bed and kissed before sleeping for a while, every time it was I who took the initiative. Mizuki Kisaragi had always been extremely shy, even the occasional initiation was just superficial. This was the first time something like this had happened. I just stood there in a daze for a moment, then pulled Mizuki Kisaragi into our arms and took the lead, just as we were both getting lost in myself. In the distance, a man patted the woman beside him. "Wife, look, doesn't she resemble our chairwoman?" But after another glance, he found it strange. She did look somewhat similar, but their chairwoman was supposed to be recovering in the hospital. Besides, the chairwoman was famously careful about her image. How could she be so openly affectionate in public? The man, to put it, plainly turned around and continued walking. "Guess I was mistaken, let's go." Only after that family walked away did Mizuki Kisaragi finally let go of me. The long kiss left her feeling a bit oxygen-deprived, her face turning pale with me, but I was both surprised and delighted. "Old married woman, why are you so proactive today?" Mizuki Kisaragi weakly leaned against me, speaking with difficulty. "I want to go home. Let's go down the mountain, okay?" I nodded without hesitation. "Okay, I'll carry you downstairs." Second, the day after that, I had just entered the office when there was a knock at the door. General Manager Eiji Kurosawa was looking for you. Watching the beautiful secretary's figure walk away, I was forced to push her, but Riku Moriyama immediately got excited. "Has the general manager already won over even the general manager under your suit pants?" I glared at Riku Moriyama and couldn't be bothered to argue with you, so I went to meet the general manager. "The voice is raised at a low altitude. If you are wealthy, do not forget it, good son." I quickened my pace and headed straight for the restaurant where the general manager's office was located. Looking at the elevator buttons, I suddenly thought about the chairwoman, whose name matched my mother's. I never expected such a coincidence. The first time I heard the name of my beloved wife, I thought it was the same as my mother Sayaka's best friend, but when I saw her, I realized they were actually the same person. With the elevator beep, I turned back to my senses. Lai Lian hurried out of the elevator and stepped out. Seeing that secretary-like woman walk over, she said, "I'm the general manager's secretary, Nozomi Arasawa. You can just call me Secretary Arasawa." I nodded. "Hello, Secretary Arasawa. What can I do for you?" Nozomi Arasawa laughed. Once she met the general manager, she knew it was a good thing. After saying that, she led me inside. Soon after, Nozomi Arisawa knocked on the office door. General Manager Eiji Kurosawa had arrived. A cold voice came from inside the office. As soon as I walked in, I saw a man in his 30s sitting at the desk, now deeply engaged, his index fingers flying as the keyboard clicked. I was a bit amazed. The general manager of a prestigious company was so young, and he was so dedicated to his work. No wonder he could hold this position. I thought about it while secretly watching it carefully. General Manager Eiji Kurosawa was still typing on the keyboard, but the onlookers kept sizing me up. The more I looked at him, the more puzzled he became. What exactly did this young man do to earn the chairwoman's favor? It couldn't really be just because of his looks, but I have to admit, he's indeed handsome. Could it be that the chairwoman is also good? This Eiji Kurosawa is quite fat. I had finally seen enough of the office. I noticed the bloodthirsty one falling on me, and when I looked up, my eyes met Eiji Kurosawa's. It really is true, and I gave a thumbs up in my heart. Eiji quickly adjusted his expression. "Haru, you've been with the company for a while now. How do you feel? Are you adapting well to the work?" "Thank you for your concern, General Manager. I think everything is fine." As I answered, I secretly wondered why they called me over. Suddenly, Eiji Kurosawa said seriously, "That's right. You know the economy is sluggish lately, and lately all departments have been under a lot of pressure on me." My heart skipped a beat. "General Manager, are you telling me all this to fire me?" Eiji Kurosawa quickly shook his head. "You misunderstood. Actually, I invited you here today because the company recently wants to move toward new media." "What does that mean?" "This means the board of directors has discussed and prepared to establish a new department to achieve self-sale of assets." I instantly understand how live streaming makes it popular. Eiji Kurosawa nodded and praised. "You have a lot of insight." I didn't dare, I laughed darkly, then asked in confusion. "General Manager, you're telling me this. Could it be that you want me to do it long?" Eiji nodded again. "That's right." I was stunned and quickly refused. "I've never used this before, and besides, if you want to make livestream popular, you have to hire internet celebrities. As a non-celebrity without a fan base, no one would buy it. However, Eiji Kurosawa showed a hint of surprise. The company really didn't misjudge the person. You hit the nail on the head with just one sentence, proving you're a perfect fit to be the head of the e-commerce department. I jumped up, General Manager. You're really not joking with me. The current workplace is so easy to get by, yet as a British graduate, I have no work experience, and became the head of a department in just 1 month. Compared to my fuss, Eiji Kurosawa leaned back and appeared very calm, genuinely, and the board unanimously approved by listening. Eiji Kurosawa began to introduce the details, and I could hardly believe it. However, what I didn't know was that it was actually Chiharu Takasugi who first proposed it. At first, the higher-ups thought it was ridiculous. But after Finance Minister Chiharu Takasugi and the Marketing Minister Review Committee explained the situation, everyone quickly expressed their agreement for the elderly Fumiko and the ill chairwoman to speak up one after another. Keeping Haru in the marketing department as an ordinary employee was clearly inappropriate. Eiji Kurosawa's gaze fell on me. Have you thought it through? Considering this, I almost blurted out, I'm willing, but then I thought about it and calmed down. Maybe the company was in big trouble, and those old board members were looking for someone to take the blame. Thinking of this, I immediately said I wasn't capable enough to refuse again, then turned to leave. Eiji Kurosawa panicked at the sight, suddenly standing up and saying, "Wait a moment." Startled, so excited. Am I unwilling to take over? This new department means I'm about to be fired. That's not the case. Let's go! Eiji Kurosawa rushed up to me in a few quick steps and grabbed my hand. Don't go, please. As he spoke, he couldn't help but squeeze his hand twice. It was quite large and felt pretty nice. I gasped. With that look of resolve, the general manager looked like he was running a kiln with a high and mighty attitude. No, I must be imagining me. Pull your hand back. The general manager has something to say properly. Eiji Kurosawa responded, his expression instantly returning to normal. Don't rush to refuse. Eiji Kurosawa sat down on the sofa and casually poured me a cup of coffee. Listen to me first. I'll analyze the benefits of this job before making a decision, okay? At this point, refusing again would be really unfair. Eiji Kurosawa breathed a sigh of relief and immediately began to introduce things at a great pace. 2.5 hours later, I slapped my thigh and finally agreed. There was no helping it. The other party offered him too much, an annual salary of 300,000 yen, plus commission and year-end bonuses. After finishing the new contract, Eiji Kurosawa nodded in satisfaction. Great! From today on, you're the manager of the live streaming department. Plus, the entire 8th floor is the e-commerce department. If you need anything, just apply directly to the finance department. Before he could even recover, he was already promoted. Eiji Kurosawa has completed his duties and is in a great mood. I'll go back and get ready. The sensation felt like a dream, and as soon as he got up, he was about to leave. But then I thought of a serious problem. Wait, General Manager, you just drew up an office area for me, and I don't care about other matters. When Ying is in chaos, didn't I say so? I'll leave the whole department to you, so what else do I have to manage? I'm anxious. Right now there's only one office area, office equipment, and no staff left. Eiji didn't hesitate. You're the manager, so of course you're in charge. As for recruitment, just let HR handle the hiring. Forcing such a simple situation seems like the company is giving you a bit of a ridiculous amount. If that's the case, maybe I can recruit people myself. I'll test the question of the dragon. Eiji nodded. We only need to find someone suitable who meets the company's recruitment requirements. I was still wanting to say something else. Nozomi Arisawa came in, and the general manager had a meeting at 11 o'clock, about to start. Seeing this, I had no choice but to walk out of the office and watch my back. Eiji Kurosawa couldn't help but sigh again and again, saying that young men these days really have great figures. Even when I got back to the office, I was still in a state of intense thrusting. Riku Moriyama perked up as soon as he saw me come in. Kid, you lost your soul with this. Could it be that the general manager's office praised you? By the way, is the general manager male or female? Listen, after Riku Moriyama's string of flirtatious remarks, I just plopped down in the office chair. Riku Moriyama sensed something was off. Hey, damn, I can't be right, did I? Then come and pull my butt to show my godfather a good look. Punched him and slammed it in. Get lost, godfather. I've gotten promoted. Riku Moriyama doubted he had misheard. If you get promoted, then why do you still look like you've been mistreated? I glared at him, then let out a breath, and told him everything that happened today, in detail. Tell me. Riku Moriyama jumped up completely. The company established a new department and handed it over to you, giving you full responsibility. I nodded. Yes, that's right. The 8th floor of the company is already empty, so I can move it up and sleep there anytime. Riku Moriyama's loud shout startled me. My godfather, Riku Moriyama, rushed in front of me and called me deputy manager. It's not too much for the two of us to join forces, and I'll definitely shine. She had no mood to mess around with Riku Moriyama, pushed him aside, and returned to her own desk. At that moment, my mind was filled with what I needed to do next, but the more I thought about it, the more I lost my head. I felt listless all day. Riku Moriyama guessed what I was thinking. When the shift manager got off work, he started talking and said, "You're so annoyed, kid. Otherwise, let's go have a drink tonight and relax properly." She rolled her eyes. "You should go with your girlfriend. I'm in a hurry to go home and be with my wife." Rikuhai naturally didn't believe it, believing that, "Son, you fooled others with a cup, but even your brothers were fooled, huh?" Too lazy to waste words with him. "If you don't believe me, there's nothing I can do. I have to go home to be with my wife." "You bring your wife out to meet her, I think." Liao wanted to say that her health wasn't good, and he would wait until she got better to bring her out. Riku Moriyama was speechless. "You kid, you'd better really bring a wife out with you." Driving all the way home, I don't know why, but today I feel an unpretentiously strong desire to go home. Seeing Mizuki Kisaragi, she wanted to hold her soft, fragrant body, curling up on the sofa. The faint, fishy scent on Mizuki Kisaragi could dispel all negative emotions. Soon, I arrived at the neighborhood and bought a bouquet of small chrysanthemums at the flower shop at the entrance. Several colors of flowers clustered together, looking very beautiful, and the fragrance they gave off was very pleasant. After Mizuki Kisaragi opened the door, I handed her the flowers and asked, "Do you like it?" Afterwards, I casually hugged her immortal waist. "What should I eat tonight? I miss you so much." Mizuki Kisaragi blushed, annoyed that we were still outside. What does it matter if we're husband and wife? After saying that, I took advantage of her distraction and kissed her on the cheek. Her face flushed even more deeply, and she anxiously looked outside, afraid of being seen. After entering the room, I went to wash my hands. When I came out, I saw Mizuki Kisaragi holding a bowl, serving me rice. He rushed up in a flash. "Didn't you say I do these chores? If your health isn't good, just take good care of yourself." Mizuki Kisaragi said strangely. "I get it, I know. I'm not a fragile vase, so why do I have to be so nervous?" Grinning, "It's not that I'm nervous, I have to be careful. Otherwise, if you bump into something, I'll feel bad." Mizuki Kisaragi looked helpless, but her eyes were full of smiles, and her heart felt even sweeter. In his memory, he had never been so nervously cared for. Everyone was telling him one thing: you must be strong, independent, work hard, and do your best. Haru protected this place like a treasure. I picked up a piece of fish belly meat. "Wife, eating more fish is good for your health." Mizuki Kisaragi blushed. "I'll do it myself." I lifted my chopsticks eagerly. "Let me feed you, honey. Try this. It's the best part." Mizuki couldn't refuse. Blushing, she opened her mouth and accepted the bite, her satisfied eyes narrowing like a kitten's. Watching this, I couldn't help but say, "Honey, you're so adorable." No wonder the ancient said, "Beautiful to be feasting." Mizuki Kisaragi's face turned red again. She hated eating your food. As she spoke, she picked up a piece of rib and put it in my bowl. However, I had no intention of picking up my chopsticks, just leaned forward slightly and opened my mouth. Mizuki Kisaragi was stunned, her face turning even redder. "Can't you eat by yourself? You're old enough to need someone to feed you. Aren't you ashamed of me?" But she acted as if it was perfectly natural. Others feeding her isn't embarrassing, but wife means marital affection. Besides, I've already fed her, so it's your turn to feed me, right? "I don't want it, wife. You ate it yourself, baby, wife, but if you don't feed it, she won't eat, okay?" Her deliberately coquettish voice made Mizuki Kisaragi both embarrassed and amused, and in the end, she picked up a piece of rib and reached it out to me. She bit down on her chopsticks and tried to pull it out, but couldn't pull it out. Instinctively, she looked up, their eyes meeting shoulders, and the air grew warm and inviting. For the first time, Mizuki Kisaragi realized that when someone is shy, they can feel their whole body burning up. She could see the warmth in my eyes, and because of that, she felt even more comfortable being shy. I decided to let it go, looking satisfied as I said, "What my wife feeds me is delicious." I hate Mizuki Kisaragi. She's both embarrassed and embarrassed. Mizuki Kisaragi is both embarrassed, and her foot under the table stepped directly on my foot, but this step had no deterrent effect at all. Instead, it made my heart itch with excitement. I said nothing, and instead hooked Mizuki Kisaragi's foot tightly. Mizuki Kisaragi felt the touch of skin pressing, her face flushed red as if it was about to bleed. She desperately tried to pull her foot back, but she couldn't overcome me. The two of them had a fierce battle under the table, and in the end, Mizuki Kisaragi couldn't take it anymore and put on a fierce expression. "Annoying ghost. You can't even eat a meal. If this keeps up, you'll sleep in the study tonight." After eating, I cleared up the dishes and went into the kitchen. Mizuki Kisaragi also came over and stood at the doorway. "Pouring water and washing dishes while pouring at the same time, honey. Are you trying to spend more time with me? After all, I work during the day and can only come home at night, so you just want to get closer to me now, right?" "No," Mizuki Kisaragi blushed again, spouting nonsense, but as she spoke, her eyes still stuck to me. He quickly washed the dishes, then pulled Mizuki Kisaragi into her arm and returned to the living room. He casually turned on the TV, where a dating reality show was playing. I picked up a cherry and handed it to Mizuki Kisaragi, the Fumiko. Emma stared at the TV, completely absorbed, unconsciously opening her mouth while eating, saying, "Haru, I'm telling you, this show is so infuriating. This woman is so intense at manipulating her husband, and that man has a fatherly vibe. His wife refuses to divorce either. She's willing to hit and take the hit." The more Mizuki Kisaragi spoke, the more excited she became. I held her and listened dotingly, occasionally feeding her a piece of fruit. After a while, Mizuki Kisaragi came back to her senses and saw that there were only 2 strawberries left on the plate in front of her. Her face flushed red, and she said, "Why won't you eat me?" Since then, Mizuki Kisaragi has been waiting for you to feed her again. Mizuki Kisaragi shot me a glare. He even handed over a strawberry. One mouth, he directly took her fingers into his mouth, his tongue moving slightly. I felt like she was electrocuted, instantly feeling her whole body go weak, shy, and exhausted. "You come again. Let go of me." I really let go of her fingers and quickly ate the strawberry. Then I hugged Mizuki Kisaragi and kissed her, swallowing all her startled cries in my mouth. After the intimacy, I tactfully let go of her, and Mizuki Kisaragi's cheeks were flushed. She immediately became worried. "Honey, are you okay? Your health isn't great. Even a little intenseness can't handle it, so even after some time of marriage, they still haven't taken the final step." Mizuki Kisaragi didn't say anything, just looked up at my usually clear and bright eyes, now filled with a burning desire that wasn't enough. Watching this, my heart skipped a beat, almost unable to hold back. In the end, reason prevailed. I took a deep breath, got up, and said, "It's getting late, I'll go fetch some water and soak your feet." At that moment, Mizuki Kisaragi grabbed me. "What's wrong?" I turned around, a bit puzzled. Mizuki said nothing. She wrapped her arms around my neck, trembling slightly, and took the initiative to kiss me. Mi's rare initiative once again made me overjoyed, but I still looked at her with some concern. "Are you okay?" Mizuki Kisaragi was both embarrassed and angry. How could I not know my body?